We back again for the Elite Eight of the PCL. I hope you guys are ready. It has been amazing so far, and it's only going to get better now because we have, well, the 8 best debaters on the planet, and they are all going head to head for not only a $5,000 cash prize, but the PCL belt as well. I do want to show you guys this before we get into it. We got Big Ox versus Jordan. They're going to kick things off right now. And then we got Mars versus John D, Hayes versus Real Talk, and Chill versus Logan. So y'all get ready. We getting into it right here, right now. Y'all know the drill. We will go for a minute and 30 seconds for the first 2 rounds, and the last round will be a 3-minute exchange back and forth. But here we go, y'all. Starting things off, we got Big Ox and we got Jordan. So let's go ahead and bring these brothers up. What's going on, Ox? Oh, my bad. You're not King Ox.
King Ox, you know.
All right. Let's get into it. Yo, Drench Man.
Not the French man. You know what it is. Let's
Yes,
do what
sir.
we do. Yeah.
What up?
I don't know who this is right here. I have no idea who this is right here.
You don't
Who,
know this
me?
guy?
No clue who this is.
That's a crazy thing to say. You know, when I come around, the basketball guys are always present. You know what I mean? I bring out the basketball guys. Yo, Jordan, you think the guys gonna let you disrespect Ox, nigga?
It is what it is. I'm the one.
They're gonna let you disrespect Ox, nigga?
I'm the one in I'm the youngest one in the room, but everybody call me Big Bro. So let's go ahead, Ron. Let's go.
All right, well, hey,
King
and Big Bro, let's get into it.
Hey, bring my change back too.
Big Bro.
The first, Jordan, we're gonna start with you. The first topic we got is pick a current player to team with Shaq. So let's get into it.
All right, let me get mine. All right. Okay, so I feel like you can go so many answers here, but the safest one to me is obviously LeBron. Number one, because it would be a duo that we had never seen before with our eyes in NBA history. You talking about the passing ability and IQ of LeBron James, being able to draw help in the lane, and being able to pass for either hand for a Shaq thunderous slam. And when I think about the pairing, I think you have to take other things into consideration as well. Like, how would Shaq fit with this player's play style? We all know Shaq can be the center of attention, and rightfully so. But out of all the people in the league, I think LeBron has played with a handful of stars and characters that know how to make it fit and win championships too. If one person understands how to get a person everything they need to be successful, it's LeBron James. He's not going to sit around dribbling the air out the ball, or they wouldn't run some complex offense that Shaq might get frustrated with. LeBron not going to have none of that. We've seen him and AD go get a ring together. I think prime Shaq and LeBron would be unbelievable to see in the playoff series based on dominance alone. Nobody would have ever seen this level of dominance in NBA history. And I might be a little bit petty too, because I seen Kobe with Shaq, and I want to see how many championships will LeBron have with Shaq if he got the chance to play with him. That duo would be larger than life itself. You're talking about the best basketball player of all time with the most dominant player of all time. Imagine Shaq running in transition alongside LeBron James. And what's crazy is, at the time, either one of them could be the ball handler too. So imagine Shaq passing out a double team to a slashing LeBron James who put somebody on a poster, or pick and roll action with LeBron and Shaq. Man, I'm telling you, Ox probably got chills right now just thinking about it. So go ahead. I want to hear what he got to say.
Okay, Big Bro, I see you. King Ox, it's on you. Your time starts when you do.
Excuse me. Yeah, so the question being, who would you pair with Shaquille O'Neal, right? I made the obvious choice, and that is SGA, because we're talking about current players right now. LeBron, that's a solid pick, but this ain't prime Bron. I'm talking about prime SGA, somebody that they're already trying to compare to Kobe, a guy that Shaq won 3 rings with. Let's break it down, because I chose somebody based on how they would mesh together, how they would complement each other, not just a big name. You know what I'm saying? Complementing each other on the offensive end. SGA this year has been knocking down that pull-up 3 ball. He's added that into his game. He's hitting it at a very high clip now. That alone, you coming off a big screen from the big fella like Shaq, that the defense is helpless, right? SGA also getting downhill, no pick and roll, able to probe the defense, attract a lot of attention that leaves Shaq open for lob threats, dump downs, all of that. So while LeBron sounds good, we need somebody that can complement Shaq, somebody that can space the floor. You know what I'm saying? Somebody that in late game situations when they're going to hack a Shaq, maybe Shaq might come off the floor for certain situations because we know that was one of the things they did to stop Shaq. We got somebody like SGA who is very good at closing games, clutch, a very good clutch player, somebody that's going to score at the end of the quarters. I chose somebody that complemented each other, not just a big name.
It's back on you, Jordan. 1:30. Let's hear it.
You know, I was a little bit surprised, and it's kind of interesting that you said SGA. And when you say, Shaq needs somebody that compliment him. Well, I don't think Shaq compliment SGA or SGA compliment Shaq. A lot of SGA points would be derailed. A lot of the Thunder offense would be derailed because, number one, Shaq not finna sit and watch SGA play at the top of the key. You heard what the big fella said he'd do if he ain't got that ball 3 times out of 3 possessions roll. He gonna sit in the lane and get that 3 seconds. So we gonna take some of SGA points off. While SGA trying to get him an MVP, not gonna happen on Shaq watch. When I see what LeBron would do with Shaq, LeBron understands this show ain't about me. This ain't about me trying to win everything, the MVP and the pretty play style. No, Bron getting Shaq in almost every single action. Bron know how to say, you know what? If this what you want, bro, go ahead. We saw him do it with Kyrie Irving. We haven't seen SGA do that with nobody. He don't do that with Chet on his team. He don't do that with Hardenstein on his team. SGA is the one shooting all the shots. I'm not calling SGA a ball hog, but I do know that you got to keep Shaq entertained. He not finna sit around and watch SGA have his little pretty little game day fits on and his little getting his groove on and do all that shit. Nah, Shaq ain't doing that. You know what Shaq doing. He getting that 3 seconds, Ox. Use a big man like yourself. You don't want to play with a dude who got to feed you. That ain't what's going to happen. Shaq going to sit and demand the basketball and do what he's supposed to do. Now, you know that, bro. SGA is cool, just not the right pick. You need a pass-first guy. You need somebody to say, Shaq, go ahead, big fella, do what you do. And, hey, that's what I go ahead, Ox.
Back to you,
That's just factually incorrect. You don't have to be a pass first player to win with Shaq. Kobe Bryant wasn't a pass first player, and him and Shaq won 3 straight. So Jordan, don't lie to the people, brother. Once again, I'm not going to sit here and do narrative talks. I'm not going to engage in that. I'm not going to talk about pre-game fits, post-game interviews, and Shaq clowning around on TNT talking about I'll just take 3 seconds and stuff like that. I'm going to talk about the basketball game. I'm going to talk about how they complement each other. Once again, on the defensive end now, let's talk about that. Let's talk about how they complement each other on the defensive end. While Shaq, we know, was a solid rim protector, really good paint presence on defense. We all seen that Shaq could be taken advantage of in pick and roll defense, playing drop coverage and things like that. With a defender like SGA, somebody that's a pretty good screen navigator, somebody that doesn't just die on screens, somebody that recovers very well on the defensive end. I think Shaq and SGA complement each other very well. Regardless of the narrative talk, we're talking hoop, Jordan. Let's keep it basketball. These 2 guys complement each other on the offensive end and the defensive end. Not just in ticket sales. SGA will be one of the best second options we've seen. This SGA, I'm talking about this SGA and this Bron. We're not talking about 2013 LeBron James, Jordan. We're talking about this year. You know what I'm saying? SGA is better on defense and offense than LeBron, and he compliments Shaq.
We got 3 minutes, fellas. Y'all know what to do, and y'all know what time it is.
Let's talk ball, Jordan.
Hold on, Jordan.
You muted. You muted
yourself.
Oh, you know when you said that.
Now, let's go.
You know when you said that Kobe wasn't a pass first player, you're right. And Shaq and Kobe had some friction. That's all I'm saying. You know how they get down, Kobe.
They won 3 championships. Who cares about friction?
Yeah,
they won 3 championships.
That's why. That's exactly why I want to see LeBron and him have it.
The question isn't who's going to have the least friction. The question isn't who's going to get into it after the game. The question is what duo is going to be the most dominant. This has nothing to do with the narrative talk you're trying to spew. I'm talking about how do they complement on offense? How do they complement on defense? I'm talking ball, Jordan.
You're right. They complement. Yes, Shaq and LeBron. First of all, Shaq and LeBron complements even better when you're talking about the duo because you making it seem like LeBron James having a wash season. You making it seem like LeBron James having a wash season.
I didn't say that at all. I didn't say that at all.
Yeah, but what I'm saying with LeBron play style, with him and Shaq's want somebody who Shaq gonna sit in the lane and get them 3 seconds for sure if you don't pass him the ball. Shaq not about to
would he do that?
Who was when
When have you ever
that's
seen
what he did.
stand in the middle of the key. Oh, give me 3 seconds because he didn't dump it down to me when I wanted it to.
That's what he did. Shaq says it all the time. When he didn't get the ball 2-3 possessions in a row, he getting 3 seconds. You not finna just
why would he not get the ball? That's what I'm saying. Where is this coming from?
Because SGA is averaging 33 a game. SGA is averaging 33 a game. He doing more shooting than he doing passing.
You're trying to create a narrative that does not exist.
Why is that a narrative?
Why would SGA not dump it down to the biggest, to the most dominant player to ever exist?
Because we never seen him do it. Have you ever seen SGA do it?
You've never seen SGA probe the defense and dump it down to guys like Isaiah Hartenstein for the little left-hand floater. If he's doing that to Isaiah, what makes you think he's not going to dump it down to Shaquille O'Neal? You're making up fake narratives instead of talking about basketball and why these guys are complimenting each other.
Why is that a fake? Why is that a fake narrative?
Because it's just a make believe, something that you came out of.
It's not a make believe. It's not a make believe.
Jordan, in the first,
you've never seen nobody win MVP with Shaq. Why?
Jordan, in the
why not in the finals? I'm talking about a prime Shaq. Who was winning prime MVP?
This isn't about who's going to get MVP.
It's about the duo. It's about the duo.
Who is going to be dominant? What? It's not about.
It's about the duo.
In the first round, Jordan, I broke down to you how they complement each other on offense. The second round, I broke down to you how they complement.
Which I think is false. I think it's false that they are. I think it's false with what you're doing on offense. Yes, that's false.
Don't just say that Shaq's not going to be happy playing with SJ because he dressed.
I didn't say he wouldn't be. I didn't say he wouldn't be happy. I didn't say he would. I didn't say he would be happy. I said how bigs go. I said how bigs go. That big man won't that peel.
That's the time, fellas. That's the time. We got a good first round on our hand. Or good first topic, y'all. We got some good basketball talk. We got some good narrative talk. We got a little bit of yap in there, but ultimately we had a good first topic. Now let's get to the second topic. What we got, Cheerio? Cue us up. All right, Big Ox, you know it's on you this round because Jordan went first with the first topic. So we got the 2025 Los Angeles Clippers versus the 2014 Los Angeles Clippers. Who would win in a 7-game series? Big Ox, your time starts when you do.
Okay, so with the question being the 2025 Clippers versus the 2014 Clippers, since I know ball, I made the right choice, and that's obviously the 2025 Clippers, right? When you look at the 2014 Clippers, we got to be real. We got to be honest with ourselves. That was one of the most overrated teams that we've seen in a long time. You know what I mean? Like they were basically a highlight reel. And don't get me wrong, like that was cool for the regular season. That was cool for ESPN top 10 and things like that. But Jordan, you know this. When the playoffs come around, the game changes. It slows down. They compact it a little more. You're not getting off those little lobs to DeAndre Jordan and Blake Griffin just to bail you out of tough situations. You know what I'm saying? That's not going to work as consistently in the playoffs. I'm curious to know, where does this consistent scoring come from in this time? Does it come from Jamal Crawford, who, with all due respect, I don't think is going to be consistent enough to win 4 games? JJ Redick's shooting abilities is great, but it's not going to be consistent enough to win 4 games. What does that do? Does that turn Chris Paul into an ISO scorer? Are we dumping the ball down to Blake and riding that? I don't think that's going to be enough scoring, enough firepower against this squad. Also, we got to be real with ourselves. Doc Rivers is not going to make the in-game adjustments to beat Ty Lue, who you just said the other day, Ty Lue ain't no joke. He's going to do what Doc is not going to do.
All right, Jordan, it's on you. You know what time it is.
All right, in a 7-game series, this is easy for me because both teams had their flaws and deficiencies. But when it came to just talent alone, that Clippers team was constructed and just was flat out way better than this current Clippers team. They led the league in scoring at the time. They had the best offensive rating in the league and a top 10 defensive rating in the league as well, too. You had Chris Paul, who was in his prime at the time, averaging 19 and almost 11 a game. Blake Griffin finished 3rd in MVP voting that year because he averaged 24 and almost 10 rebounds a game. And that's just a two-headed monster. But you got the Clippers structured a master at the point guard, a sharpshooter on the wing with JJ Redick, with the defender and the hell of a role player, Matt Barnes, and a lob threat and rim protector of DeAndre Jordan. And don't forget the co-star in Blake Griffin. But now here's where it get crazy at. I got Jamal Crawford coming off my bench, the reigning 6th man of the year, alongside with UCLA's finest Darren Collison. I can keep going, but I'm going to stop right there. No no matter which way you want to slice it, I have more talent on my squad. Chris Paul is having a field day with Zubac trying to guard the pick and roll with DeAndre Jordan or Blake Griffin, especially with a shooter in the corner as sharp as JJ Redick. And then when you get no production from Zubac on offense, because DeAndre Jordan manning in the middle, Kawhi might get off, but I'm cool with that. And here's why: the Thunder had a very tough series with the Clippers team, and for them to win that series, Durant had to average 33, 9, and 5 a game, alongside with Westbrook 26, 6, and 8 a game. And unfortunately for you, Ox, you don't have anyone on that team who can average 33, 9, and 5 for a series. And I could almost argue you don't have nobody that can average 28, 6, and 8 for that series. But I can guarantee you one thing: you definitely don't have both. So when we start talking about
sorry, Jordan, I gotta mute you. Round 2, Big Ox, talk to us.
See, Jordan, what I talked about in the first round was the 2014 team's deficiencies on offense. Now we talk about this 2025 team. They have a stifling defense, Jordan. A stifling defense. They're making rotations a lot different than what you just spoke about. That's an elementary way of guarding that. We know Ty Lue's not going to do that. We know Ty Lue's not going to play that type of coverage that leaves Blake Griffin and DeAndre Jordan open for lob passes, because that's the bread and butter for this flawed 2014 Clippers team you're talking about. You brought up the Chris Paul averaging 19 and whatnot. Why aren't you talking about the fact that James Harden, Kawhi, and Zubac are both averaging, all three are averaging 20 plus? Zubac is a demon on the glass, right? But let's keep it real. Y'all have an issue with consistent scoring in this playoff series against his stifling defense. This 2025 team does not have that issue. Who was supposed to be guarding Kawhi Leonard, Jordan? Matt Barnes, Jared Dudley. Who's guarding Kawhi Leonard? Kawhi Leonard is having his way with this team. You know what I'm saying? And what? Chris Paul is supposed to be stopping? It's supposed to be stopping James Harden? Like, be real. My best player is better than your best player. My second best player is better than your second best player. My coach is better than your coach. My big man is dominating the glass, dominating the paint. He's a much bigger presence. I'm curious to know, how do y'all stop Kawhi?
Gotta mute you too, Ox. It's back on you, Jordan. Talk to us, Drench Man.
All right, number one, the Zubac thing is out of the question. You saying Zubac can average 20? He not averaging none of that on DeAndre Jordan. You talking about DeAndre Jordan the season that he put up. That's number one. Number two, it's not about who can guard Kawhi Leonard. Like, okay, I'm okay with Kawhi Leonard doing what Kawhi Leonard does. Like I just said, the Thunder had two hell of a guys that the Clippers don't have, and they lost the series 4-2. But if you go back and watch those games, guess what? Those games was extremely close, and it's crazy to me that you trying to play the Clippers like they had a gimmicky offense. It's the reason why they had the number one offense in the NBA. Chris Paul is a maestro doing what he does. No matter how much you see it, you not stopping Chris Paul, Blake Griffin, and DeAndre Jordan doing what they need to do. You not stopping JJ Redick doing what he need to do, and the firepower of Jamal Crawford, whenever they need that spark, he could do the things that they did. When you bring up the defense of the Clippers, yeah, they playing good defense right now, but we know James Harden is a weak link. We know Zubac will be a weak link in that series. So when you talking about Ty Lue putting some monstrous game plan, no, that ain't no monstrous game plan that you could put together for Blake Griffin and them. Like I said, the Thunder was the only team who could put up those monstrous numbers against them and barely win. The Clippers don't have nobody that's going to put up monstrous numbers. James Harden may just turn into he not going to be James Harden of 2019 or 2018. He's James Harden of 2025. That's not Russell Westbrook doing what Russell Westbrook did, nor Kawhi Leonard doing what KD did.
We got 3 minutes. Let's go, fellas.
Why are you trying to act like Kawhi Leonard and James Harden are guardable by this team? Why are you trying to act like James Harden's not going to be picking on Chris Paul, picking on Darren Collison?
He's not going to pick on Chris Paul. He's not going to pick on Chris Paul. You're not, because he's not picking on. You talking about Chris Paul in his prime? He's not picking on him. I would argue Chris Paul will pick on James Harden more than that.
And why is Chris Dunn's not allowing that?
Chris Dunn not allowing what? Chris Dunn won't be playable. Chris Dunn won't be playable.
This is a stifling defense, Jordan. This is not some make believe thing. You keep coming up with these narratives.
That's not a narrative. What's a narrative? I just gave you facts. That's not a narrative. I just gave you facts. They had a top 10 defense in net rating. So the Clippers wasn't bad on defense when they was playing. That's not a narrative.
Who is on top of that? This Blake Griffin you're talking about is not carrying this offense in this series.
Collectively, they can do it in the playoffs. They're not going to score enough. Why wouldn't they score enough?
In that, that's what I'm talking about. In that regular season, yeah, all that is cool. That
Zubac, you said it yourself. You said it yourself. Zubac is a key piece for them. DeAndre Jordan is shutting the water off Zubac. Where are you gonna get the rest of your points? James Harden is not finna give you.
Leonard.
Kawhi can't average 50. Kawhi can't average 50. Zubac
can't average 50. Blake can't average 50.
I don't need Blake to average.
Who's going to have a better
Blake
series?
Will get
Blake. Who's going to have a better series?
Kawhi might have a great series. Blake will have a good one. Chris Paul will have a good one. Zubac won't have a good one. I can tell you that. DeAndre Jordan will have a field day with him.
Kawhi's matchups are Matt Barnes, Jared Dudley.
Good defender. Don't do Jared Dudley like that. Like he wasn't no good defender. Jared Dudley was a good defender. Jared Dudley was a good defender.
Jared Dudley. It's gonna be Kawhi Leonard doing Jared Dudley, not me.
That's fine. That's fine. What about James Harden? What is James Harden gonna do?
In all seriousness,
what is James Harden gonna do without a pick and roll threat? Have we ever seen James Harden without a pick and roll threat? Have we ever seen James Harden without a pick and roll threat? Not with DeAndre Jordan man in the middle. Not with DeAndre Jordan man in the middle. No, cutting that water off.
Okay. So what is DeAndre Jordan gonna do in no man's land in between James Harden and Zubac? We know James Harden probes that space.
Cut the water off, DeAndre.
He can't do that, Jordan. Stop saying he's cutting the water off.
Why?
Do that because
why?
I'm gonna teach you something, Jordan. Let me teach you something.
Zubac is not a live threat. Zubac is not a live threat.
You answer the question. You don't want to hear the truth. When James Harden is coming downhill and DeAndre Jordan has to make a choice, it's either a floater or a lob. Who is DeAndre Jordan? How can he stop that? You can't.
Fellas, I gotta
step
in. I gotta step in, y'all. We gotta be punctual today. Otherwise, I might let you guys just go another minute. But that was a fire ass topic. I think that was actually better than the first topic. So let's see if you guys can keep it going with topic number 3. Jordan, it's back on you to go first. And I'm asking you guys a question. What is more important? Having the best starting lineup or having the best coach/bench? Jordan, your time will start when you do.
All right, so for starters, having a good starting 5 in general is super important because it's your nucleus. It's your 5 versus my 5, and those 5 guys is going to get the first chance at setting the tone early in the game to create advantages. So in theory, you obviously need your best 5 out there. Now, it's good to have some guys off the bench who can give you breathers, and that's the impact that you want them to have on the game. But your starting 5 usually consists of your best scorers, collectively, your best rebounder, playmaker, and defender as a team. Now, you can have specialists on the bench, but they are usually just specialists most of the time. They're not great for teams to play them in longer stretches, which is why they are bench players. I say all that to say in the NBA or college, when it comes down to winning, most teams gonna shorten their rotation from a 7 to 8 man roster. So they rely heavily on their starters to carry the load. You know why? Because your bench isn't made for you to do that. It's almost like a cold day in hell where your bench outplay your starters and carry your team to a win, especially in the playoffs. And usually when something like that does happen, you start looking at your starting 5 to see who ass you can take out of there and send them to the bench. So as far as having a good coach, that's something that definitely matters. But the problem with that is without talent, having a good coach can only get you so far. And even with a good coach like Ime Udoka for the Rockets, the biggest problem for the Rockets may have in the playoffs, well, how will their starters play? Which is the reason why the Rockets will look to upgrade their starting 5 this offseason. Go ahead, Ox.
I'll get those 15 seconds, bro.
Nah, we're not doing rollover minutes.
That's crazy.
Okay,
your time to start when you do. Yeah.
All right, no doubt. I'm disappointed in you, Jordan. I'm very disappointed in you for choosing this answer. Honestly, I am, because you say it's my starting 5, it's your starting 5, and that's just factually incorrect. That's just not how it works. You know that, bro. You know that. Like this 5 is important, right? But that's selling tickets, that's cool. We need to win basketball games. Ultimately, winning basketball games, I need to have depth. I need to have 3-4 guys I can go to special, and specialists are very important. Whether or not they're specialists at rebounding, shooting, defense, whatever it may be, you need those guys to back up your 5. It's not my 5 versus your 5. It's never been that. And on top of that, coaching. Like how do you win with an incompetent coach? You know what I mean? If we got if let's say we got a team, equal team, right? If this coach is incompetent, Jordan, you can't win like that. You can't have a coach that's putting 5 stars in bad situations, putting them in the wrong sets, not making good adjustments. You can't do that. It's never worked before. I would like for you to explain to me how a good team wins with the coach that doesn't know what they're doing, not making in-game adjustments, not making proper rotations, not getting his team properly prepared, not calling timeouts when he needs to, challenging at the wrong times. I'm curious to know, how can you win without a good coach?
It's back on you, Jordan. Let's do it.
Number one, it's not about the team having a bad coach. I didn't say that they have to have a bad coach, but just having a good starting 5 is just more important than any of that. And you know, it's funny that you say you need 3 to 4 guys that's coming off the bench, and it's like, okay, that's cool. But regardless, they can't save you if your starting 5 isn't as good. You got to have a strong starting 5. And when I say your 5 versus my 5, I'm talking about to start the game. If I start off the game and I start beating your ass 27-3, it's going to be very hard for you to go get somebody off the bench that can do that. And then let's talk about teams in the past, right? Okay, let's go back to the 2015 Cavs championship. Okay, I just wanted to do that just for this argument. The bench scored a total of 473 points. You know, LeBron himself scored 552 points. Then you got the bench grabbed a total of 217 rebounds. LeBron himself grabbed 200 rebounds. So what I'm saying is, if LeBron just don't do that, or I didn't even go to the rest of the starters, I'm talking about LeBron in general. If he don't do that, your bench can't save you from nothing. They not coming back from no 3-1 nothing. It wasn't the bench that had to step up. It was LeBron and Kyrie that had to step up. And even if you bring up somebody like the 6th man, because you like Manu Ginobili, I'm going to just tell you, that was the very last time somebody that won 6th man won the NBA championship. That's all I'm saying. So it matters to me about your starting 5. If your starting 5 can't pack nobody up or go blow for blow with nobody, you probably going to get your ass packed up. So, and you talking about the coach, it's not about the coach being competent. I can have one coach don't have to be better than the other coach to win. Most of the time, your starting 5 have to play better than that other person's starting 5 to win.
Big Ox.
I would say that your bench outplaying that bench is 100% very important, Jordan. So that last statement you said, I disagree with. I disagree with that fully. If my bench is better than their bench, I think we have a better chance of winning the basketball game. I'm just completely lost right now because you brought up the LeBron James and Kyrie Irving. Like that's an anomaly thing. You know what I mean? Most teams that win championships have a deep roster. Most teams that win championships do heavily rely on their 6th man. They do heavily rely on that 7th man, that's the second guy off the bench. They heavily rely on those guys. I've always said this before this topic. I've always said that if you got a good 6th, 7th, and 8th man off the bench, you're in a good position. Like there's plenty of teams. You stuck to that one example, but bringing up Manu Ginobili, for instance, that's a guy. I like to think that your starting 5 doesn't always have to be your biggest punch. You can always bring a guy off the bench, such as Manu Ginobili. He's proven your whole theory wrong, Jordan. Like you can't win. You cannot win. This is about winning. This isn't about just playing basketball and having a good time and selling tickets. This question is about what's most important to winning the basketball game. And I reiterate this: you cannot win with an incompetent coaching and a lackluster bench. You need to have a strong depth and a very competent coach to win the championship. That's what this is about.
3 minutes is on the clock. Let's go.
Yeah, that's cool. You keep saying incompetent coach. The coach don't have to be incompetent. He can just be a good. When it's funny that you said that you've never seen a team win without a good bench. I can guarantee you never seen a team win without a good starting 5. You ain't never seen that. Cause why would I just say, you know what? I'm gonna put my best bench players on the bench. Starting 5, y'all go get some average out there, and then we gonna put the best guys in the game. We gonna put the best guys in the game when we need them. That don't work like that, Ox. Like, come on now, Ox. Have you ever came off the bench? Did you consider yourself as one of the best players? Did you say, hey, coach, take me off the bench?
Yeah, I did. I was a 6 man.
You was hurt. You was hurt. Yeah, you just came off knee surgery.
I didn't start. I didn't know. I didn't start, and I went to the All-Star, played in the All-Star game because I think your bench is very important. But you made a statement earlier about just starting the game. Starting the game is cool, Jordan, but we know what's most important. What's most important is finishing the game. You know what I'm saying? That's what's most important. And good coaches are going to make sure they finish the game with their strongest team.
Good coaches going to make sure that they start the game good too. Good coach is gonna make they start the game off good too. You know how hard it is to go to be down. You know how hard it is to be down by 15, 16 points and then try to come back and win by hoping your bench can do that. Because usually who's on your bench, like I said, is usually specialists that's coming off the bench. It's not your six man. You might have a microwave guy, but it's usually specialists that's coming off the bench. Somebody that can shoot it, that may not be a very good playmaker. Your starting five usually have your best scorer, your best rebounder, most of the time your best defender, your best playmaker. So it's like, that's why it's important for you to. That's why you have to upgrade to get your starting five to be the best that it has to be in order to compete for championships.
I mean, of course, you want to have a good starting five. Everybody wants to have a good starting five, but that's not enough. You know what I'm saying? I
didn't say it was enough.
Five, yeah, but that's what the question is.
I said it's more important. No, the question is what's more important. The question is more important.
So what I'm saying is having a better coach and more depth is more important than just having a good five. Five players can't all play 48 minutes. You see what happens with the Knicks. You see what happens. Guys break down when a coach tries to rely on just that five. It's
not about just relying on them. You're making it seem like it's relying on them. We can still go to the bench.
I think it's more important to have a bench that I can let these guys rest. I don't need five guys playing 48 minutes. That's not a winning recipe. That's not a winning recipe. We saw the Knicks falter because of that. We saw the Bulls falter because of that. We've seen time and time again. So I remind you,
it's not but you don't have
a strong bench, then you cannot win.
Okay. So if you want to spin a narrative, but if you want to spin a narrative that way, you can't have a bench if you don't got no starting five. Like why would we have a garbage ass starting five and then you had a garbage ass starting five? What the hell? Why would you have a garbage ass starting five?
All right, fellas, we have to bring up a great battle between two great guys to an end. But I'm sure we'll see some more fireworks between you two this week on the panel. But in the meantime, I got to send you guys to the bench because I have two starters that are coming up next. But before we get there, you guys have anything that you want to say to the people, the judges?
Yeah, man, I'm about to go get some croissants.
I'm about to go get me some oxtails. I'll be back. It's all right. Give me some oxtail. I'll be back.
All right,
man. Y'all be easy.
Good shit, Jordan.
Yeah.
All right, y'all. Here we go. Y'all know that we have a show called The Panel. We have another show called From the Logo. We have another show called Chill with Chill. And then somewhere out there in the universe, there's this show called the Hoop Talk Podcast. And one of the hosts is a guy named Mars that talks sports. And another host is a guy named John Diesel. And somehow they both joined the PCL. And somehow they have collided into each other right here in the Elite Eight. So we are going to see which host is the better host on the Hoop Talk Podcast. And more so, who's going to be advancing to the Final Four. Fellas, how you feeling today?
Pretty good, man. Yeah, I can't complain. John D said he's not talking to me until the debate, so I felt lonely, man.
Well, Morris, I heard you say it was a win-win. Do you feel that way, John? That this is a win-win?
Of course.
Okay. All right, well, fellas, let's go ahead and get into it. Y'all already know the drill. John D, you will be kicking things off, and the first question that we have is, what player would you pair with Jokic? And this is an all-time player, by the way. So go ahead, John. Talk to us.
The first person that came to my head when I was like, who would I pair with Nikola Jokic? A guy that can dominate down low, a guy that can play make, stretch the floor, and maintain a high-level offense, whether that's in half court or transition. It was Larry Bird. In 1985, he averaged about 10 rebounds, and he was averaging about 29 points per game. And when you put together two guys that can make decisions on the fly the way that they can, the way that they can play in transition, whether it's filling lanes, passing, or scoring, I would add those two guys together. This team becomes one of the greatest transition teams of all time. When you add Larry Bird, he is a good floor spacer. He's a good shot creator, and he also gets his players or his defenders with shot fakes getting to the free throw line. So when I look at how Nikola Jokic and Larry Bird can play together, they can run inverted pick and rolls where Larry Bird's rolling to the basket and making decisions while Nikola Jokic is on the perimeter, and he can space the floor as well. They can also run pick and rolls with Nikola Jokic as the roll man making decisions in the short roll. When you have guys that can pass and shoot that the way Larry Bird and Nikola Jokic can, it's always going to keep the team. It's always going to keep the opposing team on their toes. Is this guy going to make the right pass? Is he going to shoot from three? Can this guy go off for 40? Can he go off for 15 assists? It's always going to leave the other defense guessing on what they can do, because not only do you have to worry about one guy with the ball in their hand, you also have to worry about Larry Bird, who can also play off ball with the best of them and make decisions the second the ball touches his hand. So while you're worrying about Nikola Jokic in the post, you're going to have to send two to him, and Larry Bird can find every single crack in the defense to get the open shot or get somebody else the open shot.
Mars, let's hear it.
You went a direction I didn't expect. I think Jokic by himself has shown he can be a one-man offense when he's floor raising a team. Every year they seem to have the best offense in the league when he's on the floor. So I didn't prioritize offense in my selection. I went with someone who can alleviate Jokic's biggest flaw, which is defense. You didn't do that. I'm very confused. I went with Kevin Garnett. Kevin Garnett is the perfect defender to match up for what Jokic cannot do defensively. The Denver Nuggets scheme is predicated on the fact that Jokic can't guard in space or play drop coverage, so they have to put two on the ball. What can Kevin Garnett do better than anyone? Rotate behind the play a multitude of schemes on defense, and he's one of the most communicative and versatile defenders we've ever seen. The Denver Nuggets are always going to be an amazing offense with Jokic on the floor. In 2022, when Jamal Murray and MPJ were out for the season, they had the best offense in the league when Jokic was on the floor. This year, they have the best offense in the league when Jokic is on the floor. I do not need to prioritize offense when building around Nikola Jokic. What I do need to do is address the fact that the Denver Nuggets have one of the worst defenses in the NBA, and their biggest issue is the fact that they lack a lot of versatility. That's where Kevin Garnett comes in. But the difference is Kevin Garnett isn't just a defensive player. He also fits seamlessly offensively. He's someone who can play make. He can make decisions out of the short roll. Excellent ball handler. Imagine a 4-5 pick and roll where Jokic can run a pick and roll with KG, but KG can run a pick and roll with Jokic. Both of them can play in the short roll. Both of them can roll to the rim. Jokic with the floaters. KG getting all the way down the lane. Both of them can make passes. KG could shoot the ball as well. There is no drawbacks to this duo. I'm very interested to see the floor you find.
Minute and 30, John.
So one thing I considered when I started talking about Larry Bird with the Denver Nuggets was the non-Jokic minutes, as the offense can really struggle without Jokic. So when Larry Bird is on the floor, I can make a starting lineup of Jamal Murray, Christian Brown, Michael Porter Jr., Larry Bird, and Aaron Gordon. You don't lose any rebounding. You don't lose any playmaking. You don't lose really any offensive punch, because Larry Bird can uplift that team when Jokic is not on the floor. You can have Aaron Gordon as a play in the dunker spot, or you can have him space the floor because he's been a really good shooter this season. MPJ also has somebody create for him, and Jamal Murray also has somebody that can create for him, because that has been a struggle for him without Jokic. So I decided to go extremely offense because the Denver Nuggets have shown that they can be one of the worst playoff defenses in the league, and I just didn't think one person could change that. So I decided to go all offense and make a team that can really bring some mismatch problems offensively to any team in the NBA. A team that's going to have to stretch out defensively, a team that's going to be played one-on-one, every single player on the court. We can play all guys on the perimeter and have Larry Bird and Nikola Jokic play make for everyone. It makes cuts even easier. It makes open shots from Michael Porter Jr. and Jamal Murray even easier. And the offense is going to reach a ceiling that some offenses have never touched. And I think that the Denver Nuggets can still provide a level of defense to where their offense is going to be so good that they can really win a lot of matchups. They're going to have a lot of guys have to play one-on-one. People are going to second guess sending doubles to Nikola Jokic. Larry Bird is going to be able to really level his game up to another level with Nikola Jokic having the ball in his hand, with cuts, with pin downs, playing with his back to the basket as well. And everybody's going to get easy touches.
Back on you, Mars.
I'm really glad you brought up the non-Jokic minutes, because I factored that in too. In 2003, the Minnesota Timberwolves were a plus 5.9 with KG on the floor. They were a negative 18 with him off the floor. Kevin Garnett is one of the greatest floor raisers we've ever seen. So if anyone can make these non-Jokic minutes viable, it is the only player in NBA history who has similar net swings to Nikola Jokic. In 2004, when KG was the MVP of the NBA, the Timberwolves had a plus 9 net rating with KG on the floor and a negative 10 with him off the floor. KG can anchor and hold up a unit better than anyone, maybe not named Nikola Jokic. That's what he made his legacy on in Minnesota. He can floor raise in the non-Jokic minutes. And then not only that, when you say you're going all offense and you're kind of leaving defense to the wayside, I think that's a terrible decision. I mean, we got the saying defense wins championships. I know some people say that off the cuff, but it's reality. Even the only time the Nuggets won a chip was when they were actually a good playoff defense. KG guarantees you to be a good defense. When you have a guy like Aaron Gordon who can play next to KG because of his playmaking, because of his shooting ability, and because of the way he can play on and off ball, you have a guy like Christian Brown who can defend at the point of attack. Peyton Watson can also become more viable because we have extra passes on the floor. I know Larry Bird is a great passer, but Kevin Garnett being able to supplement some playmaking ability, shoot the ball, handle the ball, run pick and rolls, play in transition in a way that Larry Bird can't. He's a great outlet passer, but KG can grab and go. KG can bring the ball up the floor himself. KG can run offense where Jokic doesn't have to. There's no drawbacks to KG on this team. There is a drawback with Larry Bird, and you've admitted it. So why would you not pick?
Got to mute you right quick, Mars. But we getting right back into it because it's 3 minutes.
What's the flaw with KG? What's the flaw?
The flaw with KG is I just don't necessarily believe that the non-Jokic minutes with KG on the floor are still going to be as dominant as my non-Jokic minutes with Larry Bird. Larry Bird has proven to lead top-tier offenses in his peak. So when I have Larry Bird on the floor, we can still keep that level of high-end offense and still put pressure on any defense we go against. When you have a guy like Larry Bird that can space the floor, pass, play in transition, and not necessarily have much weaknesses to his game, and you can add guys next to him that can play off that. Jamal Murray playing off somebody, and he can be a tough shot maker off of screens and catching and shooting. Same with Michael Porter Jr. Aaron Gordon could be a really good pick and roll threat. Guys like Christian Brown can play in transition and cut to the basket, and Larry Bird's going to be able to make all those passes. The way Larry Bird gets to the free throw line and the way that he creates easy shots for players with just holding the ball for as short time as possible. The way he's able to make quick decisions on the go every single time, even without Nikola Jokic being on the floor, because we've seen that Nikola Jokic can lead teams to levels of offense to where they can create enough space for, if he comes off the floor, Larry Bird's going to be able to keep that same foot on their neck to keep the same lead. So I definitely believe that Larry Bird is going to be able to keep them afloat.
So your plan was to basically have 48 minutes of Jokic. That was your plan.
The plan was to have 48 minutes.
Your plan was to have 48 minutes of Jokic. Okay. So I think the difference with KG is I understand the all offense approach. I definitely understand that. I would ask you to tell me a team that has won with this all offense approach. I don't think there is one. I think with KG, I think you're underselling the fact that the offense doesn't get worse. It definitely gets better with KG to it. And also, when the Jokic goes to the bench, the Nuggets often go to Jamal Murray and a bunch of defenders lineups. That's what they go to. And Jamal Murray is relied on to create offense. So now imagine you have Jamal Murray out there in the non-Jokic minutes with KG and a bunch of defenders. They may not be a dominant offense in the non-Jokic minutes, but they don't have to be. Jokic is going to be off the floor for 12 minutes a game. What they have to be is a team that wins those minutes. And they can win those minutes by being an amazing defense. Aaron Gordon, Kevin Garnett at the 5, Peyton Watson, Christian Brown, Jamal Murray. Throw Russell Westbrook out there if you want. They don't lose those minutes? There's no feasible way in which they lose those minutes. KG can play the 4 and the 5. If you want, he can even play the 3. That's how versatile he is.
I definitely think Jamal Murray can be mismatch attacked, and the way that Denver definitely
with
sent
KG behind the play.
I get that. But with
in the non-Jokic minutes, they don't have to send 2 to the ball. You don't have to send 2 to the ball with KG on. They only send 2 to the ball because of Jokic. So in the non-Jokic minutes, there's no such thing as sending 2 to the ball. We're playing typical coverages, whether that's Aaron Gordon in the pick and roll and KG behind it.
Have Jamal Murray 1-on-1 and get the rotation.
We don't have to play in rotation. Depending on the matchup, we play a drop. KG's amazing in drop, or we can even have KG in a blitz or a hedge, and we have Aaron Gordon behind the play. Or
Aaron Gordon hasn't been the best defender this year,
and this is the thing with KG's communication. KG being such a great communicator, we can pre-switch those actions, keep KG low, and have Aaron Gordon blitz the ball and KG behind the play. I don't know if I trust Aaron Gordon
as much this season defensively. Same with Jamal Murray and Russell Westbrook.
Now imagine Aaron Gordon, who you don't trust on defense, with Larry Bird in the lineup.
But I think the offensive ceiling is higher.
I gotta step in. That is the conclusion of 3 minutes. That was the great first topic, y'all. This is Hoop Talk Podcast at its finest. Let's get to topic 2. Cue us up, Cheerio. What we looking at? We got the 2011 Dallas Mavericks versus the 2024 Dallas Mavericks. Mars, you'll be kicking things off. Let's go.
I went with the 2024 Mavericks. I think the low-hanging fruit is I could just say one team shot a lot more threes, shot a higher percentage just off the three-point game alone. They start off with a very strong advantage. I do think that actually does play a factor into this series. But I want to say is remember, the Dallas Mavericks in 24 are a tale of 2 seasons. Pre-trade deadline and post-trade deadline. Everything they did before they acquired PJ Washington and Daniel Gafford and Derek Lively, irrelevant. That's not the team that ended up going to the finals and was an amazing team. Once they got the team that they got post-trade deadline, did you know that the lineup of Luka, Kyrie, Derek Jones, PJ Washington, and Daniel Gafford had a plus 15.9 net rating? Did you know if you replace Daniel Gafford for Derek Lively in that lineup, they had a plus 15.1 net rating. Did you know from the moment of that trade to the end of the season, before they threw away their last 2 games where they started resting everyone, they had a plus 8.8 net rating in the NBA. They had the 3rd best net rating in the league, only behind the Boston Celtics, and I can't remember the other team. I apologize. This is a team that was going into the playoffs dominant. No, Luka Doncic, I know you believe this, and if you try to say you don't, you're a liar. Luka Doncic is the best player of anyone on these teams. Luka Doncic is a mismatch problem on offense. There is nothing Dallas can throw at him that he has not seen before or that he cannot counter. And I'm very curious to see how you tell me how they defend the 24 Mavs. But I want to make it abundantly clear. This is a Dallas team that was extremely dominant defensively and was held up offensively by 2 offensive geniuses. The 2011 Mavericks were a really good defensive team held up by 1 offensive genius. And I'm very curious as to how you believe the 24 Mavs match up with the 2011 Mavs.
Let's go, John.
I can agree with the shooting volume, but if I take a look at the personnel, I think I have the better personnel from 3. You have Jason Terry, Peja Stojakovic, Larry Bird, guys like, not Larry Bird, I'm tripping. Dirk Nowitzki, who can also stretch his game out to the 3. And I will agree the fact that Luka Doncic is the best player on the floor, but I think Larry Bird, once again, I think Dirk Nowitzki is the best mismatch attacker in this series because Dirk is going to give problems to Derek Lively and to Daniel Gafford. I think Dirk Nowitzki has a very big size advantage on Daniel Gafford. And I think if he plays off the ball, whether it's coming off pin downs or playing at the elbow, you can bring Derek Lively out of the paint and you can win the offensive rebounding battle with Tyson Chandler down there at the perimeter. So if you're going to put PJ Washington on Dirk on the perimeter, he's going to have the size advantage where he's going to be able to shoot over it. We've always talked about how Dirk Nowitzki is one of the best mid-range shooters in the league, and having somebody guarding him who's going to have a 5 to 6 inch disadvantage against him is just not the best scenario if you want to keep that game plan to have guys funneling towards Derek Lively or to have guys funneling towards Daniel Gafford. So I definitely think if you're going to have a big guard Dirk Nowitzki on the perimeter, we can run Jason Kidd and Tyson Chandler pick and rolls, and we can have those guys finish at the rim because there will be no traditional rim protector down low. I think Dirk Nowitzki is going to be able to pull out the bigs to the perimeter, and that's going to be probably the biggest mismatch problem of the entire game because I think Dirk running off screens, playing in the post, he's too big for Daniel Gafford, and he's too quick for Derek Lively, and I think Derek Lively can be lost in those screens.
Back on you, Mars.
PJ Washington is absolutely guarding Dirk, not a big. I think you went at a good angle. I do think Dirk is an amazing mismatch attacker. I do think it's also relevant to say that some of the shooters you named, whether that be Jason Terry, JJ Barea, Peja Stojakovic, JJ Barea cannot play in this series. He can't. And I know you know that as well. JJ Barea cannot play in this series. Jason Terry, borderline, can't play in this series. Luka Doncic is one of the best perimeter mismatch attackers we've ever seen. I'm fine with even conceding that Dirk may be a better mismatch attacker. But the issue is the guys you rely on for this floor spacing are unplayable in a series against Luka Doncic. They are too small. They aren't strong enough. And when you talk about your ability to have Tyson Chandler play on the backline and protect the rim, what do you do with a Luka Doncic pick and roll? He shot 8 pull-up threes a game last year and made 38% of them. Kyrie Irving's a 40% pull-up three-point shooter. You can't play drop coverage. Tyson Chandler is all he can do is play drop coverage. So you can't play drop coverage, which means you have to keep Tyson Chandler away from the play and keep him near the rim. But then guess what? That means you have to have Dirk in the action, Peja in the action, or maybe you go with Sean Marion. But the issues you run into is we have Kyrie Irving playing 1 pass away. You're probably going to put 2 on the ball with Luka. That's what everyone did. We have Kyrie playing 1 pass away. When teams double Dirk, it was Jason Kidd 1 pass away, who he can make reads, he can skip the ball over to the to competent shooters. But like I said, your shooters aren't going to be playable in this series. How do you get JJ Barea on the floor? How do you get Jason Terry on the floor? How do you keep Peja on the floor when his foot speed was cooked at this point? How do you keep these guys on the floor to provide the value you need from them offensively?
Back to you, John.
I'm definitely going to send 2 to the ball. And I'm going to have Rashad Stevenson's rotate on Kyrie Irving. Once again, they're going to we're going to funnel them right to Tyson Chandler. I'm going to have Peja Stojakovic sit in the corner because I do think Dirk played well out of doubles. And I think Dirk is going to constantly mismatch attack PJ Washington. I think that's the biggest mismatch of the series because that's going to create open shots for guys like Jason Terry, guys like Sean Marion, guys like Rashad Stevenson, guys like Peja Stojakovic. Once again, we can talk about the volume of threes, but I think I have the better personnel to hit these threes. The Dallas Mavericks were shooting 37% on threes in that season, and I would say they probably cut the 3-point volume in half that the 2024 Dallas Mavericks have. But I think we can go toe-to-toe from the 3-point line in any single series. I think Tyson Chandler is the best rim protector in that series. I think he's going to out-rebound you guys. And once again, I saw the 2024 Dallas Mavericks have a problem sticking Kristaps Porzingis because Derek Lively just could not stay on Kristaps Porzingis. I think Dirk is the same way because Dirk is going to be able to play off ball to the level that Kristaps Porzingis could not touch. He's going to be able to make shots in motion. He's going to take spot up shots, and all those long twos can turn into threes, and he can put the ball on the floor. So me thinking that PJ Washington, who's giving up like a 6-inch advantage to Dirk Nowitzki, he's going to play way better with having clear shots in the mid-range.
We had 3 minutes, y'all. Let's talk.
Dirk is 7 feet and PJ 6'10", so it's definitely not as big of a. It's definitely not as big of a high gap.
I thought he was 6'7". Oh, well.
Yeah, definitely not as big of a gap as you believe. But I'm fine with the Dirk stuff. Derek Lively is not going near Dirk. We are going to have Derek Lively similar to what the Mavs did throughout the postseason. It didn't work against Boston because they played 5 out. The 2011 Mavs couldn't play 5 out because of Tyson Chandler. We're going to have Derek Lively parked near the rim, guarding Tyson Chandler, taking away any lob opportunities that Jason Kidd may throw. And with Dirk Nowitzki isolating on PJ Washington, we know we can't guard him one-on-one. Everyone accepts you can't guard Dirk Nowitzki one-on-one. The issue is a lot of teams sent doubles from one pass away on Dirk, and he was comfortable making that read, and they often put Jason Kidd one pass away. What do you do when the Dallas Mavericks send double from the weak side and Dirk has to make skip passes, advanced reads? When did he show you he could do that at a consistent level? You've already admitted you're putting 2 on the ball on Luka Doncic. Luka Doncic can make every single read against 2 on the ball. The Timberwolves tried to put 2 on the ball against the last year.
6'7". I had to look that up.
That man is not 6'7". I'll give you 6'8", 6'9". He is not 6'7".
I'm gonna go off.
But let's even if we say he is 6'7", which he doesn't look 6'7", but okay, if PJ is 6'7", cool.
I really like that Dirk matchup. I really like that Dirk.
I love that Dirk matchup.
He's gonna see the whole floor. He's gonna see the whole floor.
But when has he shown you he can make those reads cross court, those skip
I've
passes?
seen him do a good job in the playoffs. Making skip passes to guys like Sean Marion, making skip passes to guys that are cutting like Sean Marion and Jason Kidd, and guys like Rashad Stevenson and Peja Stojakovic and Jason Terry in the corner. I think he can make those passes, especially if the game plan is going to be let's funnel these guys to the bigs and get these guys in rotation. We are forgetting Luka Doncic and Kyrie Irving were awful defensively in the playoffs. I think Dirk
they had a bad final series. Kyrie was amazing defensively in the first 3 rounds, and you admitted that when someone came and spoke to you about that, and you admitted it. So we're gonna keep pushing. Let's not do that because
we're gonna attack Luka Doncic. We're gonna attack Kyrie Irving because I think with Dirk,
who on the perimeter can attack,
we're going to be able to get switches because I just don't think PJ Washington or Derek Lively can keep up with him off ball. There's going to be multiple stagger screens. There's going to be multiple pin downs to where Dirk is going to get the ball and he's going to be able to make moves as soon as he gets it off the catch, whether that's driving to the rim out of a team that has an advantage, whether you want to switch and have Luka on him. We're going to attack that every single time. And we have the 3-point shooters to be able to swing the ball to the perimeter and have guys that can knock down shots. Like, once again, you guys have the volume advantage because of the era, but we have the better 3-point shooting personnel. Peja Stojakovic.
If you're saying you're going to up the volume, that's fine. But you haven't addressed how you defend the pick and roll with Luka Doncic, because it can't be Tyson Chandler and drop. We know that. You can't pre-switch and have Dirk in the pick and roll. We know that. You're saying put 2 on the ball, but Luka Doncic can make every read against 2 on the ball, and that means you're in rotation and we have Kyrie on the second side. So what is the counter to slow down this attack? I'm comfortable with the Dirk skip passes. You said you've seen him make those reads. That's cool. But you've already acknowledged there's no answer for Luka Doncic on offense. This is the same Luka Doncic you said was better offensively than 2009 LeBron James. So how are we slowing down this offense?
PCL argument.
How are we slowing down this offense?
I'm slowing down this offense by sending 2 to the ball. And I have my matchups right here. I'm going to have Jason Kidd guarding Derrick Jones
Fellas,
Jr.
That's time, though. That's time. We gotta end it, unfortunately. But y'all, we are going to move on to topic 3. John, you started things off in topic 1. Marge, you went first in topic 2. So now, John, it's back on you. And we have another good question. What is more valuable? Top tier rim protection or top tier playmaking? John, talk to us.
So this was my topic. So this is pretty cool. A+ rim protection versus A+ playmaking. And I'm going to go with the argument of rim protection. I think rim protection can propel you to higher levels in a postseason where if you can take away one of the easiest shots in basketball and do it without fouling, so you're taking away another easy shot in basketball, it makes offenses really hard to score. We see teams that don't create good rim pressure. If, for example, the Golden State Warriors before getting Jimmy Butler, the Phoenix Suns, they're not necessarily great offenses and offenses that can convert in the playoffs. If we take a look at some of the teams that did not finish well within 0 to 5 feet in playoffs in recent years, they haven't gotten out the first round. And if we look at some of the teams that they went against, they had A+ rim protectors. In 23-24, the Clippers, 52% first round exit against Daniel Gafford and Derek Lively. In 2022-2023, the Memphis Grizzlies, 55% between 0 and 5 feet. They went against Anthony Davis. 21-22, Minnesota, they went against Jaren Jackson. 2021, Miami, they went against Giannis and Brook Lopez. 19-20, Orlando, they went against Giannis and Brook Lopez. We look at really good rim protectors and see how they can affect the game in the postseason by taking away easy shots, whether it's getting to the free throw line or getting to the rim. If you're taking away that aspect, you're not going to be able to have an effective playoff offense. You're just not going to be able to do that, and it's going to be extremely tough for you to generate good offense in the postseason, especially if you don't have the personnel to work if you're not getting rim pressure. So if you can have the deterrence and have the shot blocking ability to keep the ball in play and convert it to transition, it also creates offense.
Back to you, Mars.
Rim protection has never stopped rim pressure. Rim protection is just deterring the shots once you already get to the rim. The teams that you alluded to, a lot of them just struggled getting to the rim in the first place. That's more perimeter defense than rim protection. Playmaking and scoring are directly correlated. They go hand in hand. Getting downhill and collapsing the defense, forcing the rim protection to come to you and spraying out to guys is playmaking. The reason that you've created an opportunity is because you are a threat to score the basketball, and that means defenses have reacted to you as such. There's a reason why when Ben Simmons is coming down the lane, teams don't collapse. But when it's Russell Westbrook coming down the lane, prime Russell Westbrook, teams do collapse because he's a threat to score the basketball. Being able to be a threat at any time is one of the most valuable things in the game of basketball. When we talk about playmaking, we are also indirectly talking about scoring ability. The ability to create opportunities for your teammates comes in direct correlation because you are a bigger threat at that moment in time, and you create for other people because of that. Being able to collapse the defense, like I said, that is the pillar that drives all offense. The teams like the Phoenix Suns last year, the reason they struggled is not because they couldn't score at the rim, it's because they had no one who could collapse a defense. When you have someone who is able to be a walking mismatch, like a Luka Doncic I alluded to, that is the most valuable thing any team can have. No offense scores without advantages. A+ playmaking is just A+ advantage creation. No defense, no matter how good the rim protection is, can counter A+ advantage creation. When you have someone who is able to draw a rim protector and then find the guys behind that, because the rim protector helping means someone is open, you've countered the rim protection. That's what you've done. There is no counter to playmaking.
Back to you, John. Let's go.
I've definitely seen rim protectors deter people from coming to the rim. We see Wemby do it on a night-to-night basis. Just being a freak 7'4" athlete with an 8-foot wingspan. Guys in transition are like, I don't know if I want to do that. We're going to swing it to the corner. We're going to let Julian Champagny shoot a corner three because that's better than going to the rim. So I've seen people protect the rim and stop people from going free throw line and beyond because of the way that they can block shots and adjust their body and switch and block shots with keeping the ball in bounds. So I wanted to talk about the criteria of rim protection. It's protecting the rim without fouling, taking away the most efficient shot in the game, which is a free throw shot, blocking the shots while keeping the ball in play, because that's very important as well. If you're blocking the shot and sending it out of bounds, you're just giving the team another chance to score. But if you are an A+ rim protector, you should be able to do all of that, which is taking away the easiest shot in basketball. Two out of maybe the 5 easiest shots in basketball, which are layups and free throws, you are taking that away consistently. We've seen A+ rim protectors shut down series because guys cannot get to the rim and score effectively. Guys can't get to the free throw line and score effectively. So I've seen playoff series be changed because of A+ rim protecting and having the defense that you can provide to take away those shots. We see it in the playoffs all the time. Some of the best scorers in the league, they get to the free throw line consistently. They can get to the rim. So if you can take that away on a consistent basis, there's almost no game to be had because you're going to be dealing with a lot of tough threes, a lot of tough mid-ranges. And if we're taking away those easy shots, we have a clear advantage day one.
Back on you, Mars.
Rim protectors can be nullified in a way that playmakers can't. We've seen a team like Boston last year put their guards in the dunker spot to remove rim protection. That's something you can do. Rim protection is only as valuable as people are when you are down there, because defense is reactive. If we are able to control spacing and determine who's actually down there at any given time, we can take away your rim protection. We've seen teams go 5 out against a team like the Utah Jazz with Rudy Gobert, who is an A+ rim protector. I know you would agree with that, but we've seen him be nullified, not because he's not an amazing rim protector, but because teams are able to scheme around that. How do you scheme around A+ playmaking? How do you scheme around someone who's able to create an advantage on demand? When we have clear game plans that remove rim protectors, whether that's bringing someone up in pick and roll, knowing you have to play high, so now we have the rim free. That's taking away rim protection. When we are able to remove you away from the rim and take away your most valuable asset, you are being nullified. There is no nullification for someone who is able to put 2 on the ball, collapse the defense, create advantages, because the only way you slow down someone who creates advantages is by playing them one-on-one. And the issue when you come up against these A-plus playmakers, playing them one-on-one is something that is a death sentence, because you know what happens? A-plus playmakers destroy you one-on-one. That's what makes them A-plus playmakers. So the answer for you to slow down an A-plus playmaker ends up creating more advantages. You just have to try and control which advantages you're giving up. The nullification of rim protectors is quite simple. Either you have a stretch big, someone who can play 5 out, or you run high screens, you bring the big away from the paint, or they have to try and keep their big low, but then you end up compromising who's in the corners and certain things with pre-switching and stuff, and you end up creating easy opportunities that way. You can nullify rim protection.
3 minutes. Let's go.
So I've seen A-plus playmaking be nullified. If we all watched, everybody in the chat, everybody on the screen, we've all watched the NBA Cup where the Oklahoma City Thunder sent 2 to the ball in every pick and roll for Luka Doncic, and Jalen Williams rotated to the rim. So Luka Doncic would have to make skip passes to the weak side, and they were quick enough to rotate to nullify them getting to the rim. By the time Derek Lively slipped, Jalen Williams was already there, who is a solid rim protector for his position. So if we can send 2 to the ball and make these guys get the ball and make guys get the ball in uncomfortable positions who can't do much with the ball in their hand while having an A-plus rim protector or just a solid rim protection player down there, it nullifies a lot of the playmaking that guys can on the
But you just done team rim protection at that point. That's what you've done.
If we have multiple,
yeah, you said now you're making a team that has multiple rim protectors, but then I get to the point where if I have a team of multiple A-plus playmakers, then we get to the point where I've created the advantage. Now imagine when you spoke about the guy's weaknesses in that short roll, Derek Lively, for example. Now imagine Derek Lively is Jokic. Now imagine I've added another A-plus playmaker to that. Does that same plan still work? No, it doesn't. So you run into a problem where you're saying my team has multiple rim protectors and I counter your A-plus playmaking. But if I add another A-plus playmaker to the same equation, you've added multiple rim protectors, I then win again, because now the rim protection is being destroyed by the fact that I have another elite decision maker, unlike Derek Lively. So
if we're rotating on the ball, we're sending 2 to the ball, our guys can rotate. Our guys can rotate, and we can have.
Yeah, if you're OKC and maybe the most mobile defense ever, you might.
And you talked about the Boston Celtics were one of the best 5-out offenses ever. So
there's more teams that can counter rim protection. I even the Clippers in 2021 countered rim protection by going small. There's many more ways to counter rim protection than your example of maybe the greatest perimeter defense we've ever seen. Can counter this team that has
okay. So if we take a look at your guy Kevin Garnett that you just used, he's an excellent help side rim protector, and Absolutely. He communicates. Rim protection Absolutely. Also comes with communicating. So hey, we're gonna switch Absolutely. This screen before we start, and I'm going to stay parked down low, and I'm going to protect the then we can just bring the man in the corner up to the wing, and we're still raising you away. That's what we can do. Dallas did that last year where they were clear communication can beat that. If you rotate,
okay. So then what's the counter? Because Dallas did this last year in the postseason to remove help side rim protection from the weak side. They would just move Kyrie Irving, who would often be in the corner, all the way to the strong side corner, so that when they ran their double drags, they could have the empty side corner for the lob. What's the counter to that? You zone it up. Is that the counter?
Yeah,
you have to play zone. Okay, so now you play zone, we run into a whole different amount of problems.
If we play zone,
we can help off of
Derrick Jones Jr. Against that team, we can help off of Derrick Jones Jr. And if PJ Washington wants to have his another really good 3-point shooting streak like he did against OKC, we'll live with that.
Yeah, but you notice how once again defense is reactive. Everything you're saying is we're gonna have to concede something. We're gonna have to concede something. That's what A-plus playmaking does. We have to concede something. We have to give this up. We're gonna have to live with this. We're gonna have to live with that. That's what A-plus playmaking does. It forces you to have to live with something. There's nothing with rim protection that you have to live with, because we can do things to remove you away from the rim, or you have to do something that gives us something we want to keep your rim protection down there. That's why playmaking is more valuable.
All right, fellas. Hell of a debate between two very, very, very good NBA minds and just debaters in general. Guys, we will know tomorrow on the panel which one of you
tomorrow?
Which one of you is the lead host on the Hoop Talk podcast. But in the meantime, appreciate y'all for coming through.
America. Speaking of which, Hoop Talk podcast is on in an hour.
So I don't even have my list.
Yeah, tap into that. Hoop Talk podcast will be live in an hour right after the PCL. So tap into that. Shout out to John D. Whoever wins, once again, the Hoop Talk podcast is always winning, man. Tap in. There you go. That's what I got to say. Merry Christmas.
All right, fellas. We'll catch you guys on the flip side.
All right, peace.
All right, here we go, y'all. We about to get into the next debate. I do want to let you guys know that, yes, the Hoop Talk podcast is after this, but after that, we will be on playback for the PCL after party. We'll really get to see some A-tier playmaking between Tyrese Halliburton and Nikola Jokic. Y'all be sure to pull up. This is at 8 p.m. Eastern time. But in the meantime, y'all, we got another clash between two heavyweight debaters. So let's get into it. I got Hayes and I got Real Talk. And one of you guys will get a chance to go to the Final Four. But how y'all feeling today? Y'all ready to rock?
Yeah, I'm good, man. I'm good. How you doing? How everybody doing?
Cool.
Ready?
All right. Well, let's get into it. We don't gotta wait. We don't gotta do the formalities. Let's get straight into the first topic. What you got for us, Cheerio? Okay, so we got Magic Johnson with any current player teamed up. Real Talk, we're gonna start with you. Who are you taking currently to team up with Magic Johnson?
The player I selected to team up with Magic Johnson was Victor Wembanyama. I chose Victor Wembanyama because number one, I've seen success with a big paired up with Magic Johnson as Kareem Abdul-Jabbar. Number two, I feel like I don't want a redundancy of skill. I think the best duos don't do what each other do. They make up for each other's weaknesses, and Victor Wembanyama definitely does that for Magic Johnson. We'll start with the defense. Obviously, defense. Victor by himself is practically a top 10 defense in the NBA, and then you pair that with a Magic Johnson who offensively, Wemby for a long part of his career does not have guards that can hit him on quick duck ends when he has players sealed. The guards can't deliver the ball, but Magic Johnson is one of, if not the best entry passer in NBA history. He makes the best passes in tight windows as well. And then when we talk about the transition game between Magic Johnson and Victor Wembanyama, I mean, my Lord, Victor gets the rebound, outlet to Magic. Magic pushes it. Victor running the lane with Magic Johnson. Showtime in San Antonio is what that would be. So I think that they both make up for where they lack. Victor does have some flaws offensively as far as playmaking and passing and being able to read defenses right now, but with Magic Johnson, he would not have to fulfill that role. So I went with Victor.
Let's go, Hayes. Round one.
I went with Nikola Jokic, and the reason why I went with Nikola Jokic is I want to highlight what both these players do well, and the fact that they both are floor raisers for any player that they play with. You look at the way that they're both able to create a pick and pop with Nikola Jokic and Magic Johnson could be absolutely dangerous. You factor that in with Magic Johnson as one of the few players to play all 5 positions at a time period where that just did not happen at all. I think that you both these players with Nikola Jokic's ability to stretch the floor, how that pairs with Magic Johnson and his ability to create and also get to the lane. And while Magic wasn't necessarily the best shooter, right, when you adjust his numbers into the modern pace, Magic Johnson averages almost 37 points per game. His assists stay around the same, but his field goal shooting percentage drops down a little bit to 45%, but his 3-point shooting actually goes up to 34%. Still not an amazing 3-point shooter, but enough to where the versatility that these players have, as well with their creation and how they can raise the floor of everyone around you. It gives you so much flexibility in the way that you can build every other part of your roster, that it makes it so dangerous for a really good coach to come up with schemes, because you can really coach any scheme at that point in time. Nikola Jokic is one of the best floor raisers that we have in the NBA. Magic Johnson is also an amazing player as well, and what they would be able to create together and that pairing would make it one of the most versatile offenses that we've ever seen in the game of basketball. And I think that any halfway decent coach can make the most out of it.
Round two, Real Talk. Let's do it.
So yeah, earlier, I kind of expected that he would go with Nikola Jokic or some other form of offensive player. And again, for me personally, I do not think the redundancy of a skill set is best as a duo. That Magic Jokic defense looks like what exactly if they don't have Hakeem, KG, and goddamn Gary Payton at the point of attack? If those aren't the other 3 players on that court with them, I mean, it's barbecue chicken. So again, I want to get back to the duo of Wemby and Magic. Even offensively, Magic had a great post game. That's kind of where he got his shots off at. And what does Victor Wembanyama do for that? Well, number one, he can take the 5 out of the paint while Magic posts up with being a quality 3-point shooter. And on top of that, even if he was in the dunker spot, that's great vertical spacing as well. And then on top of that, Magic didn't have a great jump shot, but he did later on in his career develop a great set shot. And so if Wemby's getting doubled, if we swing, I'm confident in Magic being able to hit set wide open jump shots from the 3-point line. So all in all, I think that they make up for each other's weaknesses. I think that vertical spacing and 3-point spacing from Wemby complements Magic. I think the passing from Magic complements Wemby as a play finisher. And Wemby, again, makes up for the lack of defense that Magic Johnson provides. So I'm going with Wemby.
Back
I think also in going Wemby, we need to also talk about the fact that one of the reasons early in the season teams were able to slow him down is that you can get away with putting a wing on Wemby, that you can force him out of the paint that he's still developing. And while I know we're talking about a lot of the upside of what Wemby provides, Wemby, like we're still early in the Wemby where he's still learning the game. We could say what he's going to provide, but let's be clear here. Even the things that he does best, he still has been able to be forced out of doing as easy as what you would expect him to be able to do with his size and athleticism. And as long as that's the thing there, with my pairing here with Jokic and Magic Johnson, these are two players that we know exactly who they are, right? Jokic has had historic seasons already. We're not talking about a theoretical in Wemby, even though Wemby's more than likely to get there. We haven't seen that yet, and the ability to stay healthy, but that's the story for another day. What Magic and Jokic provide is something that we already know for 100% fact. You look at the way that they what they have done over their careers. Jokic is an amazing player. And like I said, yeah, we could talk about just those 1-2, but if you're able to force Wemby out of his game as easy as what we saw this year with Magic and with Jokic, it's not as easy to force them out of what they do best. Jokic can be down low. Magic can create. Then if you can try to get Jokic out on the perimeter and keep that, Magic can create and keep dishing and create for others and put them in better positions. Wemby, it's easier to force him out of what he does well at this current point in time. And at that, we've seen it. Like, we've seen literally shooting guards force Wemby out of what he does best.
3 minutes. Talk to us, fellas.
I'm seeing in the chat that people are saying we're going off hypotheticals. Number one, this is a hypothetical question. We're talking about two players that
that's a fact, real talk. Don't worry about explaining.
Yeah, but I'm not going to worry about that. But again, I do want to ask you though, what does that defense look like with Jokic and Magic? Like, who's guarding who? Who's at the point of attack? Like, how do they complement each other on that end of the floor? Because I did hear a lot of floor raising about offense, and for me, when you have a Magic or a Jokic, I don't really think that you have to do much as far as aiding the offensive side of the ball. I think that you do that with surrounding a great offensive player with some defensive players, just like Golden State did with Steph Curry. They surrounded him with Andre Iguodala, a Draymond Green, a two-way Klay Thompson. To me, that's what you get out of that, not putting Steph Curry with Damian Lillard or anybody like that. Just
you do realize that there are 5 positions on the team, right?
So absolutely. Yes, how great do those other 3 defenders need to be for that to manifest?
With how good their offense would be, and the fact of the matter, even if they are halfway decent mid-range and 3-point shooters, the offensive skill, like yes, you do need a solid defense around them. Make no mistake about it. But as long as they are competent defenders and you fill them with switchers and still have a solid, competent defense on the bench as well, that just can be competent offensively.
Are those kind of players easy to come by?
In the modern NBA, it depends on the era that we're talking about. In the modern NBA, yeah, you can find solid two-way players and players that understand their role. See, the thing is that with Magic and Jokic, role players can perform way higher than role players per their output, because you have 2 players that are able to get the best out of them. And when Jokic sits, that whole thing of when Jokic sits, the productivity goes down. You don't have to worry about that when you have a Magic Johnson as the other player that can also create when he's sitting on the bench.
Yeah, but I mean, we've already seen, although Wemby isn't the greatest offensive player, he definitely creates hella advantages on the court and leads pretty decent.
You're right, but what do you do? I'm gonna put the same question to you.
Wemby
What do you
being
then do
a generational defensive player on top of the offense I'm getting from the generational offense I'm getting from Magic? I feel like that is a better combination than doubling down on defense with 2 bad defenders.
That's true. But at the same time, when you're doubling down on a player, you keep saying what Wemby could do. We've seen him forced out of his game way too often, right? So what do you do then when Wemby is not, like, yeah, defense is great, but when you don't have anything offensively, do you think Magic Johnson alone is going to be enough to do enough offensively when Wemby has gotten forced out of his game by shooting guards? We're talking about 2s.
If we were to sub Magic out and then bring in maybe a defensive-oriented point guard, because, again, this is the benefit of having two-way, right? We bring in a defensive-minded point guard. Now our defense becomes even more stout. So, again, we may not be the great offense in half court, but maybe now we get more stops we rebound, we get out in transition, and don't play against set defenses as much if we bring in a defensive-oriented point guard when we sub out Magic with Wemby.
All right, fellas, that's 3 minutes. That was an amazing topic. Y'all both did y'all thing. Let's see if you can keep it up going into topic 2. What we got? Cheerio wants to know who's closer to winning a championship. I know you guys chose two teams. We'll see which 2 teams you guys chose. Real talk, you went first, so Hayes, it's on you. Talk to us.
With this this debate, I chose the Rockets, and I think that the team that's on the other side of that, when you look at the Rockets and where they are right now, the fact that they are the second team in the West, and while a lot of people do doubt their youth, what they've been able to accomplish already, right, as far as having a base, and they have a team that is a competent two-way team. While the offense still does lack at some times, the defense that they're able to play with the youth that they still have and the way that they're able to punch, on top of coaching, the Rockets are a score away theoretically from everybody looking at them as a perennial championship team. Even with that said, one of their best players on their team that is still growing in Amen Thompson has barely begun to even scratch the surface of their team. And while both these teams are very young teams, I think when you look at the Houston Rockets and what they've already been able to accomplish with an over 50-win season already, the sky's the limit for them because they still have assets, they still have cap flexibility, and that's a thing that plays a part into a team that's closer to a championship as well. This team not only has so much as a base now and young players that they can look to move if another star becomes available, but you look at what Sengun does already for this team. You look at what Amen Thompson already brings to this team. You also look at the coaching and the base that they have. This is a team that is so set up for now and the future. They've already shown that they can be competitive right now. What they can do in the future, because they're barely scratching the surface. You look at their average age of right around 24 years old, and that's with 2 31-year-old players upping that age by so much. This is a team that has barely begun to scratch what they can do overall.
Who you got, Real Talk? Talk to us.
So I went with the other option, which were the Indiana Pacers. I went with the Pacers for several reasons. Number one, post All-Star break, they have been one of the best teams in the association. They've had one of the best net ratings in the association with one of the best defenses. Their 5-man lineup of Turner, Siakam, Nembhard, Halliburton, and Mathurin have a 102.8 defensive rating post All-Star break, and that would obviously put them in the top 10. And also the reason why I went with Indiana is because of the team that the Rockets are trying to form. I do not believe that it will beat OKC. And if winning a championship, you have to get out of your conference. And if you're forming just a diet version of the Oklahoma City Thunder, mind you, because what is the solution for the Rockets post this year? Get Devin Booker. So now you want what? A Devin Booker-led offense surrounded by a great defense, right? Sounds like Shea in Oklahoma City Thunder. I do not think that the Rockets are necessarily close to being able to beat OKC in a playoff series. So that's why I went with Indiana. When you look at Boston in the Eastern Conference, Drew Holiday is getting old. Kristaps Porzingis is always in and out of lineup. You got some contract situations that they have to think about coming up because they have paid everybody and paying a lot of luxury tax. So we will see what that Boston team looks like in the near future.
Let's be clear here.
Let's
be clear here. We've already seen the Indiana Pacers story. We've seen how that story ends. The Pacers, unfortunately, you're talking about the base. The Pacers haven't had an above 50-win season in almost 12 years, whereas the Houston Rockets with a much younger team, like I said, especially when you take away that player in Fred VanVleet and how him and I've lost my train of thought, are upping the average age of that team with being 31 years old, Devin Brooks. But when you look at this, the fact of the matter is this: your Pacers team, they've already peaked. And that's the sad part of this team. You talk about contract situations. Does Miles Turner not yet have a contract situation? A Pacers team that's already been terrible defensively. We've already seen that Tyrese Halliburton cannot be trusted because he is not a consistent player. Talking about hypotheticals of adding Devin Booker to this team. Guess what? I would trust more a Devin Booker team being added to this defense than we've already seen with Tyrese Halliburton and the no defense that the Indiana Pacers have had. While they had a generational offense almost last year, they had no defense to mention. And while they made it far into the finals, like like nobody really looks at this Pacers team and says this is a team that can make it out East. You're in the weaker conference with a worst record against above 500 teams. The Houston Rockets are a team in the more difficult conference, and they still have more wins against above 500 teams. To say that the Pacers are further along than the Houston Rockets, I'm sorry, you're looking in the rear view. But the Pacers have already peaked, my brother. And part of that is it's sad because Halliburton is a really damn good player, but unless they make a lot of moves to really change their defense, they're going nowhere.
Fellas, we got 3 minutes. Let's go.
You just said that the Pacers don't have a good defense. Their two most played lineups post trade deadline again have a defensive rating of 102.8, and the other one has a defensive rating of 107.5. They've been one of the best defenses in the league post All-Star break. Another reason why you keep bringing up the youth for the Rockets, and that to me favors my point. In my opinion, the reason why Indiana is closer is because their team has more playoff experience. They have players like Halliburton, who's been in the playoffs. Siakam has a championship. The fact of the matter is, from an NBA historical perspective, a team does not just get a player and go from first playoff appearance and then next year championship. That's not how it goes. It goes maybe first and second round exit, conference finals exit, finals loss, then championship. And the fact that you also brought up that the Rockets are in the harder conference, again, favors my point. They have a harder road to even get to the finals, in my opinion, than Indiana will in the near future. So that's why I went with Indiana. The fact is that this year is going to be Amen Thompson's first playoff experience. Jalen Green, Sengun. This is going to be a lot of their players' first playoff experience. The Pacers have been there, done that. They're one of the better defensive teams in post All-Star break. Always been a great offense with Halliburton leading that unit. So again, to me, the experience factor, the Pacers have it. The defensive factor post All-Star break, they clean that up, and an elite offense.
All right, we got 3 minutes on the clock, fellas. Talk to the people.
And why are you talking about that experience factor? That experience factor has ended in a lot of disappointment, my brother. And when you look at, as far as you're in the weaker conference, you barely have an above 500 record in your own conference, which you said is the easier record. The Houston Rockets in the tougher conference have a 30-18 record. Do you know what that means? Like, I get what you're saying here and what you're trying to get into with the experience of the Indiana Pacers. Like I said, we've seen that story. How did that story end? They've taken a step back this year. Yes, they had injuries. Make no mistake about that. But Tyrese Halliburton has already shown himself to be inconsistent. On top of that, unless you have them winning a championship this year, you could take this as, and even for both teams, the future of the Houston Rockets, what they're able to add going forward in this, the draft picks that they have, the young players and contracts that they have, their ability to even come off Fred VanVleet's contract if they decide to do it and make a big splash in free agency. Unfortunately, the Indiana Pacers right now, the Indiana Pacers need to worry about how they're going to replace
the best team in their conference is also young. In fact, chat and everybody, I want to acknowledge that you want to bring up the youthfulness of the Rockets. Aren't OKC the youngest team in the league?
Yeah, what does that have to do with the Rockets?
Okay, so the best team in their conference is also young and on the same timeline.
You can say the same thing about your team. You have teams in the Cleveland Cavaliers.
Be better than Oklahoma City
Thunder. You see them getting past either one of those teams? Real talk. You're trying to make a conversation that you see the Pacers making it past the Celtics or the Cleveland Cavaliers. Come on, boy, like what point are you right now, my brother? Look,
how much longer is KCP going to be? I mean, KCP. How much longer is or Porzingis going to be on that roster? How much longer is Drew Holiday going to be on that roster? Derek White is already 30 plus.
How much longer is Miles Turner going to be on that roster? How much longer is one of your best defensive players that help even up? And you talk about the defense post. You've been 11th in defensive rating since the.
Okay, fellas, I'm stepping in right quick. I'm stopping the time. Hold on, Hayes. I muted you. I'm stopping the time. Y'all yelling over each other. Let's talk hoops. Come on.
All right. First, you talk about the defense, the way the defense of the Indiana Pacers has improved since the All-Star break. They're 11th in defensive rating and 8th in offensive rating since the All-Star break. Since that same time, the Houston Rockets are 5th in offensive rating and 3rd in defensive rating. They are better than your team in every shape, form, and fashion as of right now. The Indiana Pacers do not have. They need to find a way to keep their team together. The Houston Rockets can instead focus on how they can add to this team. The Indiana Pacers need to find a way to keep the little bit of defense that they have together with potentially losing Miles Turner and not having a player right now to replace him. The Houston Rockets have the money, they have the draft picks, and they have the young player set and salary cap filler to acquire somebody if they need.
Hayes,
to
let
be.
me ask you a question. Let me ask you a
Have
question.
that.
Hayes, let me ask you a question because they bring in Devin Booker or Kevin Durant, let's say, right? For the Rockets, let's say.
Okay.
Who on that Rockets team could be a solidified two on the championship team offensively?
The way that it's looking right now,
who on their team is above average, league average true shooting on their team right now?
It's true, above average true shooting. I would say Sengun's probably the closest to that. But then you still have the defensive capability of it, and you're adding a player that has tremendous offensive upside to a defense that's already one of the best defenses in the league. So yeah, you can talk about all day offensive upside.
They'll be Orlando.
Orlando that wasn't healthy all this season, like you can't really compare them to that.
Great defense
and even Magic was better than your team before they went down with injury. What are we talking about?
All right, fellas. All right, I gotta step in. Let's keep it going, y'all. We got one more topic. Everybody in the chat, make sure you like the video. Make sure you comment. Make sure you subscribe. These fellas is putting on the show for us. So here we go with our last topic. Cheerio, what you got for us? The 2025 Cavs versus the 2015 Cavs. Who wins in a 7-game series? Talk to me, Hayes. It's on you. Real talk. It's on you.
I went with the 2015 Cavs. Number one, LeBron James is on the roster. That's point number 1, 2, and 3. Secondly, to be honest with you, though, that 2015 Cavs team and the 16 roster as well had a lot of versatility on that roster that people I think don't really realize. With they had Amon Shumpert on their roster. They had J.R. Smith. They had obviously Kyrie Irving. They had Kevin Love. And so in the matchup between the 25 and 15 Cavs, I think the Cavs this year have struggled to guard bigger wing players because of, the lack of POA at that position. DeAndre Hunter, respectfully, you stick him on LeBron, I'm comfortable. I'm also able to drag out one of your bigs with Kevin Love. And either you're going to put Evan Mobley or Jared Allen on him, and we'll get one of them out the paint. Also, Donovan Mitchell and/or Darius Garland has to guard Kyrie Irving. I think I'm also living with that as well. And the defensive versatility with Tristan Thompson. If you all remember, Tristan Thompson was vital in that not only that 15 series against Golden State, but that 16 series, being able to step out and switch and guard and hold his own against some perimeter players. So Tristan Thompson is a mobile, big and versatile big himself, and not only that, he's also a vertical spacer and pick and roll for LeBron and Kyrie Irving. So that's why I went with the 2015 Cavs.
Let's go, Hayes.
I love that you brought up LeBron James. Great player. Make no mistake about it. And in no way I'm going to sully the name of LeBron James. I'm actually one of the Bulls fans that can recognize that LeBron James is a great player. But that wasn't the best season for LeBron James. Let's go to it. LeBron James on the floor was an average or below average shooter in every spot on the floor except the right elbow, where he shot 44%, above the league average of 38%. And he only took 47 shots from there, though, one of his most effective spots. That's in the entirety of the season. Let's also go to in the paint. LeBron James in the paint, that's where he was the most dominant, 65% compared to the league average of 54.9%. The Cleveland Cavaliers are one of the best teams at points allowed in the paint in that restricted area where LeBron dominated that season at. They're the 8th best team in points allowed in the paint this season alone, right? And also, let's also remember that Cavaliers team was not the best defensively, was not the best offensively. They were elite at almost nothing. They were the 18th defense in the league, 21st in defensive rebounding, which is not good. They were 17th in scoring allowed in the paint as well, and 25th at scoring allowed at the rim. The fact of the matter is that the 2025 Cleveland Cavaliers team is so much more of a well-rounded team. Yes, the 2015 Cavs have the better player in LeBron James. Make no mistake about it. But where LeBron was the most dangerous at that season actually plays into the strengths of the 2025 Cavaliers team. And I haven't even talked about the offensive upside and efficiency of the 25 Cavs team yet.
Back on you, Real Talk.
So what I did find out in seeing the 2015 Cavs roster is that I think Amon Shumpert only played 38 games in the regular season. He was a vital part of that defense, especially from a POA perspective. So a lot of those stats can be skewed. Again, I think they did have one of the better playoff defenses, and Amon Shepard was there for a majority, if not all of those games. So again, the defensive versatility between Amon Shumpert, J.R. Smith actually was also a really good defender at this time. If people do remember, he did do a good job on Steph Curry in his few moments, did a good job chasing Klay Thompson as well on screens. What I do want to ask, though, and counter is that, yes, was that LeBron James' best year? Absolutely not. But this is also not Donovan Mitchell's best year. And if I'm going to get mid versus mid, I'm still going to I want the better mid. Give me a mid LeBron James before a mid Donovan Mitchell, to be honest with you. LeBron James will be the best player on the court. He will still be by far the best playmaker on the court. He'll still be drawing more defensive coverages than anybody else on the court. He'll still be the best passer on the court. Still be the best downhill threat on the court. And so when you surround that with the three-point shooting, which Cleveland did, and Shumpert, Love, JR, and Kyrie, that's always a recipe for success.
Back to you, Hayes.
It wasn't a recipe for the success in the finals that year. And it also wasn't a recipe for success in them limiting turnovers on their offense. Yes, the Cleveland Cavaliers had a great upside. I think often sometimes confuse the 2016 Cavs with the 2015 Cavs. And a big part of that was coaching, right? And coaching very much so held that team back. That's why Tyronn Lue had to come in and help that team get over the hump and actually winning a title. That team was one of the most sloppiest teams and slowest teams in the NBA at that time. Despite having the third best offensive rating in the league in 2015, they were one of the slowest teams in the league with 25th in pace, right? They weren't very good at limiting turnovers. Usually when you play slower, you play a more efficient brand of basketball and limit turnovers. Let's talk about this year's Cleveland Cavaliers team. With the Cleveland Cavaliers, the 2015 Cavs being so bad at turnovers, this 2025 Cavs team is third lowest in turnovers per game, and they score almost 39 points off turnovers a game, if I'm not mistaken. Somebody fact check me on that one. Then also the depth of this Cavs team. You talk about what they were able to do off the bench in this season, so far in the season. This is a Cavs team that's deeper than the 2015 Cavs team. Yeah, you have your top end, but as we know, when you're talking about playoffs, when you're talking about series, when you're talking about matchups, the depth absolutely matters in that team. You already said Amon Shumpert was hurt. J.R. Smith, I get it. You want to squint your eyes and kind of look at when it was the best version of J.R. Smith, but let's not forget who and what J.R. Smith was overall. Like let's just look at that. This is a Cavs team that overall right now is a better and on both sides of the ball team than what that 15 Cavs team was.
3 minutes is on the clock.
The Cavs' strength is their two big man lineups, and I think that let me say the 25 Cavs, because both teams are the Cavs. The 25 Cavs, their strength is that two big man lineup, and I do think that Tristan Thompson and Kevin Love are a great counter to that because both are great rebounders. But another point that I want to bring up that was absolutely disgusting from you is that did it work in that finals that year, knowing that Kyrie Irving went down, knowing that Kevin Love didn't play a lick of time in that series, and mind you, they were still up 2-1. And mind you, the reason why they were up 2-1 and playing at a slower pace actually benefits that 2015 Cavs team because I have a better half-court operator on my team than you do. And especially in a playoff setting, I'm leaning towards that with LeBron James above all. If I get the Cavs to slow down to play my version of basketball, that benefits me. The 2025 Cavs, I believe, are one of the highest
benefits you when you almost led the league in turnovers. I don't think that benefits you the way that you think it does. And when again, the point of playing slower is that you can play more controlled. It can be more controlled. And when you play slower, that allows the defense to set in more. What are the 2025 Cavs team has is one of the better set in defense. Let's also talk about the fact that the 15 Cavaliers are one of the worst defensive rebounding teams in the game of basketball that year. Their defensive rebounding percentage, as well as the total number of defensive rebounds, was extremely low. What does this team kind of excel at? The fact of the matter is, I get what you're getting at with talking about Kyrie and the potential there. The fact is that they weren't efficient at it, though. They were good. They were able to get by on the star power of LeBron James and in a even weaker Eastern Conference. But let's be clear here. This is a Cavs team that is efficient on offense, efficient on defense in a way that 15 Cavs team was never able to be.
That 15 Cavs team was up 2-1 against a 2015 Warrior team that had the MVP on it and won 67
And they still
games.
ended up losing
And
that.
they
And
were
let's not
up
even
2-1
talk about
without
Evan
their
Mobley
other
versus Kevin Love, my
without
boy.
two
Real
of the
talk.
3 best players. They were up 2-1. But now I'm supposed to believe. I'm supposed to believe that now the Cavs, who were up 2-1 against the Warriors in a 67-win season with the MVP, now can't figure out the 2025 Cavs with Kevin Love and Kyrie Irving on the court and LeBron James?
Yeah, let's talk about that Warriors
supposed to
team
take
that you ended up losing to. Go and check the efficiency of the 2025 Cavs team and where they ranked in the league. This 25 Cavs team has been better and more efficient offensively than even that 15 Warriors team, which is going to pose even more threats for you offensively. Are you going to trust Kevin Love, Kyrie Irving, and J.R. Smith offensively? Come on, real talk. Come on, real talk. Let's get it together.
Are the 25 Cavs better than the Warriors?
Are they better than the Warriors? Defensively,
Yeah,
absolutely.
Warriors.
Offensively, they can match wits with them. 100% sure with the efficiency and the balance that they're able to bring because of the depth on that team.
All right, fellas. 3 minutes is up, and that is the final topic of the day. Y'all put on a hell of a performance, and we will just have to see tomorrow who advances. So y'all be sure to tap into the panel, and you guys will know. In the meantime, you guys have anything to say to the people?
No, I'm glad I enjoyed this debate, man. Kept it all basketball. You know what I'm saying?
We talked about that beforehand.
Yeah. I'm Hayes made some good points and everything. I think it was my toughest battle so far. You definitely cleared all my other opponents for sure. So yeah.
Fun debate, real talk. We knew that coming into this one for sure.
Yo, no other panelists got to get slayed or
What?
slandered.
What you mean?
Who's slandering? Who's slandering?
Who am I? Who's slandering who?
Shout out to everybody else.
Oh, real talk. I didn't even.
Damn! I forgot. Damn.
PCL.
Damn.
But all right, fellas, it's been a pleasure. I'll catch you guys soon, and maybe I'll see you guys later on playback.
Yes, sir.
All right, y'all. Y'all know what's next. Y'all know who we got. We got a hell of a matchup right here. And a lot of you guys would say the winner of this may be going on to win the whole PCL. Well, it's only one way to find out who's going to win it, and it's to get into it. So let's make it happen. I got Logan with me from Nerd Sesh. What's going on?
What's good, Ron? How we doing?
I'm cool. How you living?
I'm chilling.
All right. And y'all already know who Logan will be going up against today. We got Chilltown Hoops in the house. What's good, Chill?
Love nerds. Let's do it. I love nerds. Yes, sir.
All right, y'all. This is one of the more highly anticipated battles of this whole PCL, and it's about that time. Let's go ahead and do it. Logan, you will be going first. Chill, you'll be going second. Cheerio just queued up the topic, and we got you're pairing Giannis with any all-time retired player. So, Logan, talk to us. Who you got?
First of all, pleasure to be here. Second of all, happy to debate you, OG. Happy to be back on here. So let's set the table for the Bucks. They desperately need a point guard. Damian Lillard is out the rest of the season with blood clots, and in hindsight, you probably wouldn't trade away Chris Middleton. But knowing that, I think this team desperately needs some offensive juice. So let's hop in the time machine, and let's hop back out with Steve Nash. First of all, I think if you pair him with Giannis, I think they both have extremely complementary skill sets to one another, and they enhance each other. Nash's shooting and playmaking is going to enhance Giannis offensively as a roll man and a lob threat, and I also think they make up for each other's deficiencies, right? Giannis's lack of perimeter creation, he's gotten better at it. It's the best he's ever been in his career. Nash makes up for it, and Nash's defensive deficiencies, Giannis makes up for on the other end. But I like Nash's specific fit with the Bucks as well. He's one of the greatest offensive engines ever. He let out 6 straight number 1 offenses from the 01 Mavs to the 2007 Suns. And if you expand that to 08 and 09, he also let out 2 more number 2 offenses. So this is a guy who is going to enhance, amplify everybody around him. On-ball manufacturing, easy looks, off-ball. He's got gravity off screens and is a spot-up player. And I think he could empower the Bucks to play faster, maybe empowering looks with Giannis at the 5 as well. But adding Nash to the Bucks right now, you're adding an all-time passer, a legendary jump shooter in his prime. I mentioned 01 to 09. He shot 47% from the mid-range, 44% from the three-point line, and I think he'd be even better in today's NBA. I'll get into that in the next round.
Absolutely. I was surprised that you said Steve Nash, because the first thing I'm thinking about is how successful has Giannis been? Well, it's been a specific archetype that they put around in terms of the lead guard to put around him. They started with Eric Bledsoe, right? They started with Eric Bledsoe, and it worked, but it really didn't. And then they upgraded to Drew Holiday. We got a guy who can score the basketball. We got a better defender. We got a smarter player. So you know what I want to do? I want to keep with that theme, right? I want to stick with that theme. I want to add Gary Payton to that crew. The reason why I want to add Gary Payton to that crew is because it's the similar architect. I got a more versatile defender, and I got one of the best transition guards that the NBA has ever seen. How do I know that? Because from 1994 to 1996, they played with the top 3 pace in the game. And who to play with like that, who to play with better than Gary Payton and Giannis, because I watched him do it with Sean Kemp. So now what I'm going to do is, over the last 6 years, I got the best transition player in the game who has an effective field goal percentage of 65. I mean, that's ridiculous over the last 6 years, right? So now I'm going to put Gary Payton with him, a lob threat, a guy who can knock down the long ball, a guy who can get to the rim with the best of them. And one of the biggest problems that Giannis has had in terms of him winning the NBA championship has been durability. That's never been a problem with Gary Payton. Off the strength that Gary Payton has led the league and led the playoffs in minutes. He's consistently playing 80-plus games. So there's never been an issue with Gary Payton's durability. There's never been an issue with his ability to get up and down the floor. Him on the defensive end is never going to be a problem. And I don't have to worry about him playing with certain players because he's so versatile. Absolutely. I think Gary Payton is the guy.
Back on you, Logan.
I think it's a great pick. I mean, his two-way ability also. I think Peyton's just underrated generally because of how great he was defensively. I think people tend to underrate him offensively. Great shooter, good playmaker. I think he enhances the Bucks on both sides of the ball. I just think that Nash is such a better offensive player that I just value that a little bit more in in this context. I really liked what you were talking about, Chill, when you were mentioning transition with Gary Payton. I think that's exactly why I really like Steve Nash's fit here in Milwaukee. This is a team that doesn't like to play super fast, and I think that would still be an issue in lineups with Brook Lopez, but you need him for rim protection, you need him for floor spacing. But like I mentioned earlier, you got different looks that I think you could go to with Giannis at the 5, where they would look like the D'Antoni run and gun Suns. They're getting out on a break. Nash is slinging the ball down the floor. They're playing fast. They're manufacturing offense. And that, to me, is the most valuable trait that you can have when you go into the playoffs, is the ability to manufacture easy offense. Because I like GP and his two-way ability, but I think there is a large enough gap between him and Nash's offensive engines that I do prefer Nash. And what I mentioned earlier, that malleability and that portability, I think Nash would be even better in today's NBA with all this space to work with all the shooting around him. He had teams like that in Phoenix, obviously, but I think it would be even better in the NBA today. And I just think having that tier 1 offensive engine in NBA history is the most valuable thing I could add to this current Milwaukee team.
Well, it's interesting you mentioned that, because my opponent here, Ron, is talking about a guy who presents the same problem that they have right now. They have one of the best offensive engines right now in Damian Lillard. And what do? They mismatch hunt him on the regular. And with the mismatch hunting, you get 5s, you get 1s on 5s, right? You get 2s on 5s. They're going to do that all day long with Steve Nash. With the pick and roll and the pick and pop action that we have today, with the mismatch hunting, with the screening that we have today, they're going to go after Steve Nash in every possible way they can. You can't do that with Gary Payton. The reason why you can't do that with Gary Payton, one, Gary Payton is a great screen navigator. He's an elite on-ball defender. He gets around screens. He's great with his hands. He blows up your D. He blows up your offense at every turn. And with him doing that, that's going to throw a monkey wrench in everything that you're trying to do offensively. On top of that, I got Giannis Antetokounmpo as an offensive player. So when I blow up your offense, with my defense, now we're going back on offense. And when I look over to my left, I got this 6'11" deer running, and I'm running with him, and I'm throwing the ball to the rim all day long. And I don't have to worry about, with Drew Holiday being on the crew, worrying about minutes, because I can very well just move Drew Holiday right over to the 2-guard spot, because Drew Holiday did that when he played with Rondo. And when he played with Rondo, they were ridiculously effective. So I love everything about having Gary Payton on this crew. And the biggest issue that I have with Steve Nash is the fact that the mismatch hunting that we have in today's game, you can't do that with Gary Payton. And they don't have enough guys, I think, on this Milwaukee team to protect Steve Nash. And you won't have to worry about that with Gary Payton.
We got 3 minutes, fellas. Let's go.
I don't disagree at all with that point, Chill. I think that's probably the biggest chink in the armor for adding Steve Nash to this team, because it doesn't address that glaring need. That being said, I wonder with Gary Payton, and this isn't a slight at him, because like I said, I do appreciate Gary Payton's offensive game. I tend to think he gets underrated as time goes on. I think they need a guy like Nash with Lillard out because I wonder if that offense is going to be good enough in today's NBA. Giannis can carry him through. Giannis can be good enough. Is that shooting going to be reliable enough? Are they going to be able to manufacture enough of them tough buckets? Like I said, we don't have Chris Middleton playing third fiddle anymore. We've got Kyle Kuzma. We need one of them GOAT all-time shooters, and I think that's why I really prefer Nash.
Well, actually, we don't. And the reason why we don't need a GOAT all-time shooter and we can just get a solid shooter is because in today's game, as fast as you play, and if you play defense, I think that you have an opportunity to be in every game. And I think that Gary Payton provides. Don't forget, I mean, we're talking about a scorer who averaged for 6 years. He averaged 21 and 8.
No doubt.
Not only did he average 21 and 8, his 3-point percentage went up in the playoffs. That did happen multiple times where his 3-point percentage went up. I don't need a knockdown long ball shooter because there's plenty of teams that don't have knockdown long ball shooters in order to win.
I think that's a little bit disingenuous to how great Nash was because he is a great long ball shooter, but I also think he's one of the greatest mid-range shooters of all time. And that's something that I take issue with personally when people talk about Nash historically in these conversations because he never got to the finals. He never got that ring, right? And so when we talk about Nash, it's almost like CP where they got this kind of stank on him, right? Oh, he never got the big one. So we got to hold that against him. I think Nash is a guy whose game scales better to the playoffs because he was the master of the mid-range and he was such a good shooter and he was such an elite playmaker.
The biggest problem that I have with you, though, I want you to keep going, though, Logan, but the biggest problem that I have with you, though, is the fact that you have not answered the biggest issue, which is what we have today in today's game with mismatch hunting. We are going to go after Steve Nash on the regular, and we talk about guys getting played off the floor on the regular. I think Steve Nash is good enough offensively that he won't get played off the floor, but he's going to be in a world of trouble, and we don't have enough guys to protect him. And I think Damian Lillard, you know how I feel about Damian Lillard, but the fact that Damian Lillard needs protection, and I think that he's actually a better defender than Steve Nash. So now if we're going to have Steve Nash on the floor, we are going to attack him. You can't do that with Gary Payton. And on top of that, you're getting buckets. You're getting the guy getting down here. You're getting the guy getting to the rim. You're getting the guy who's speeding up the offense. And I'm not, by the way, just getting Giannis involved in the game. I'm getting Drew Holiday involved in the game. I'm getting Kyle Kuzma, who's a really good transition player. I'm getting him involved in the game. I'm getting all of these guys involved in the game. We're talking about the consummate floor general here, who you can't really mismatch hunt, which is the biggest problem that the Milwaukee Bucks have at this particular time.
I don't disagree with that, Chill. I think it's a great point. I just think they're a little bit too offensively limited alongside Giannis in that supporting cast. I want that high-end offensive engine, and I think they both come with their pros and cons, but I'll take the offensive guy.
All right, y'all. That is the conclusion of topic 1. That was a pretty good one, right, y'all? Lived up to all the expectations, right? Well, I got an even better topic for you coming up next. Chilltown is going to be on you to kick things off. And the question is the 2008 Boston Celtics versus the 2024 Boston Celtics. Which team wins in a playoff series?
Well, Logan, the first thing I think about when I think about NBA champions, I think about what is your calling card? What is the one thing that you do when everything or a lot of things aren't working? What is the thing that we can hang our hat on? Well, the Boston Celtics, the one thing that they were able to do is defend. I went back 40 years, with the exception of the Los Angeles Lakers in 2001, and if I'm not mistaken, the 17-18 Warriors. Every team that won the NBA championship had a top 10 defensive rating. Those are only ones. So this Boston Celtic team, everything that you need defensively in order to win, they have it. They had the best defensive player arguably in the game in Kevin Garnett. They had arguably the best glass cleaner in the game in Kevin Garnett. They had one of the best defensive lead guards in the game who can speed the game up in Rondo. And when he does that, now I got one of the best shooters on my wing in Ray Allen who can knock down the long ball with the best of them. I want you to also remember that this team wasn't just a team that was defensively inclined. They were also pretty good offensively. So when you transfer into this era, I mean, they were in the top 10 in the league in three-pointers made. They were in the top 10 in the league in three-point percentage. So they could knock down the long ball with the best of them. That's what happens when you have a guy like Ray Allen. And if you need to just move in a little bit, if you need to keep the defense a little bit honest, I got Kevin Garnett who can knock down the mid-range. I got Kevin Garnett who can get on the box and get us more versatile. And on top of that, he was a really good passer where I can get guys cutting off the basketball and he's looking for them. And Paul Pierce was one of the best knockdown shooters on the wing in the game. So I think I have everything that's necessary in order to win, and I have my calling card.
On you, Logan.
I don't want to take anything away from the 08 Celtics because I think both of these teams are two all-time NBA champions with dominant regular seasons. The 24 Celtics had the 5th highest net rating by a team in a single season. The 08 Celtics are right behind them with 7th. I think the 24 Celtics had one of the most dominant regular seasons of all time, though. They have the most wins by 25 or more points by any team in NBA history. They had 17 games that they won by 25 or more. Again, that's number one in NBA history. You're talking about that calling card. I think the 24 Celtics calling card and their superpower is their ability to just spray threes, that volume elite three-point shooting. And I think that's reflected in that stat that I just mentioned by all of those blowout victories. I also think that they are going to be able to, there are other superpowers that they can mismatch attack at a high level. I'll get into how that factors in this specific matchup, but I do think they have their own calling card. The thing that makes the playoff run with the 24 Celtics so special to me is the fact that they dominated the competition without having a quality finals run. Tatum was completely off as a scorer and jump shooter. Jaylen Brown had big games, but he was inconsistent. Porzingis was only available for 2 series, and granted, you can use all these points against me negatively, Chill, but I think that emphasizes the fact that this was such a dominant run, and they didn't even play up to their own potential. They went 16-3, and they had the tied for 14th highest net rating in a single playoff run by a champion. The 08 Celtics went 16-10 and only had the 36th highest. So I think the 24 Celtics have their calling card, but they were better in the regular season and in the playoffs.
It's interesting you mentioned blowing out teams. Just so you know, in Game 6 of the NBA Finals in 2008, they beat the Lakers by 25, smoked them on their home floor, completely destroyed this team. No questions asked, completely shut down Pau Gasol, completely shut down Kevin Garnett, completely shut down Kobe Bryant, shut the door on this team. And if Kevin Garnett doesn't get hurt, I think that they win the NBA championship again, but that's a different season we're talking about right now. So this team dealing with the players that they had to deal with, dealing with the teams that they had to deal with. When I think about what the Celtics had to deal with, of course that they're going to be a better defensive team. Well, because a lot of the players that they had to go against weren't there. They didn't have to deal with Jimmy Butler. So, of course, that offense is going to be a lot different. They didn't have to deal with Donovan Mitchell the entire series. So that offense is going to suffer because of that. They didn't have to deal with Tyrese Halliburton. The reason why that Indiana team was as good as it was because they played at a certain pace. Well, if Tyrese Halliburton is out of the lineup, well, we're not able to play at that pace as much as we could. And they still were in dogfights with them, still. So if Tyrese Halliburton is out there, I think that they're dealing with a completely different team. Not only are they dealing with a completely different team, I think we could possibly see a different outcome because there were 1-2 possession games at the end of the game. And when your lead guard is not on the floor, I think that that's going to be something that's going to be a problem. But this Boston Celtic team, having to go through the teams that they had to go through and having to deal with who they had to deal with in 2008, having to deal with that Detroit Pistons team, who they handled with Rip Hamilton, with Rip Hamilton, right? They handled those guys, and it wasn't a question. So when I think about this Boston Celtic team in 2008, this is one of the best defensive teams that I've ever seen, and equally offensively.
On you, Logan.
I feel that way about the 24 Celtics. And granted, I can't disagree with you, Chill. You make really good points. Not that they had a cakewalk, but they only lost 3 games the entire way through. I just want to emphasize that. I get that they didn't have the toughest path to go through. They still mowed down competition, and I don't think they played up to their best abilities. I think this year could be an even better playoff run. Granted, I think it's a step down in terms of the regular season production, but I think this year they could be even better in the playoffs. The other advantage that I think, I think the Celtics, the 24 Celtics, had a better regular season. I think they had a more dominant playoff run. I think they have better quality depth, and that's another edge that I would give to the 24 Celtics, where we look at their 5 through 9. It's not great when we get down to the dregs, but Peter Horford is your 5th best guy, depending on who's available. Then I've got Pritchard, Hauser, and Cornette. When I look at the 08 Celtics, I see a glaring weak point in this starting 5, and that's Kendrick Perkins. And I think he is the biggest liability out of either of these teams playing big minutes, and that is something that I would hold against the Celtics. Granted, I think it's important to emphasize when we have these conversations, it's a different era of basketball, the mid-2000s. It's grimy, it's get to the cup, it's have 2 bigs out there. You need a guy who can rebound and protect the paint. So it's a different game. But to me, he's a weak point that the Celtics don't have. They don't have a weak link. They also have that elite defense. They are switchable 1 through 5, and they also have 2 superpowers offensively. So it's really close. Again, these are 2 legendary teams, but I prefer the 24 Celtics offensively and defensively.
Well, you just brought up an interesting point that I like to counter. It's interesting you brought up an interesting point that they had a better regular season. What if I told you that the Boston Celtics in 2008, they won 66 games as opposed to the Boston Celtics who won 64 games? So if I'm not mistaken, the 2017 Spurs, the 2016 Warriors, Those are a number of teams that won 66 plus games and didn't win the NBA championship. We can't say that about the Boston Celtics. On top of that, they had the best defense. They had the best defense, second best defense in the league to the Detroit Pistons. On top of that, they had a rotation that we haven't even spoken about, right? So I already got your starting five. I already know how you feel about Kendrick Perkins being played off the floor. Well, I can counter that by saying I'm watching Kevon Looney, who doesn't really do much except the dirty work, and they win the NBA championship with him doing that. I can get the same thing from Kendrick Perkins, him doing the dirty work, and we need nothing else. But then when I follow up with guys like Leon Poe, who does more dirty work, who can knock down mid-range shots, and then I got a defensive anchor again on the perimeter in Tony Allen. Then I got another lead guard in Sam Cassell, and then PJ Brown comes in. My rotation is incredible on top of the starting five that I already have, and I didn't mention how if I didn't mention, I'll mention it again, how good Kevin Garnett is as a versatile big, whether it's on the box, whether it's in the mid-range, whether it's in transition. He's blowing up everything that you're trying to do. I think that he gives everything that the Boston Celtics have, he's able to counter that. And I think that I don't think that they're clearly better, but I do think that they're a better ball club.
That's interesting. I kind of disagree on the depth point. I think that's where the 24 Celtics have a really distinct advantage. Two-way, I think I prefer the skill sets of a Holiday and a Derek White in comparison, just that floor spacing that I get to a Rondo and a Perkins, right? Like, I think there's major spacing concerns with that lineup. But I think that's ignoring the fact, again, the context of how they won the championship. I don't think Tatum's ever going to have a down postseason like he did. And again, they still dominated. And the X factor to me in this is Kristaps Porzingis. The guy played 2 series. And I believe in 3 finals games, I think he had a plus-minus of plus 33 in the series, in the games that he played. That's plus 11 per game. I have a hired gun, a mercenary off my bench that's better than the 08 Celtics 5th best player, that's way better than the 08 Celtics 6th best player, that I can just deploy. He's like a secret weapon, and to me, when we're talking about rotations, I think the 08 Celtics.
But we have seen that though, Logan. But we actually have seen that. We've seen Jason Tatum go to pieces in terms of scoring in multiple playoffs. We've seen him do that, not just last year in terms of the shooting. We've seen that in 22. We've seen him in 21. We've seen him in 22 in the NBA Finals. We 100%. But the difference is that we've seen more of the other stuff, which is why they haven't won the NBA championship more than they should have.
They didn't need Tatum to even play at that level, and they still steamrolled the competition. That's what, to me, I think we're going to look back in 5 years, and I think people are going to have a different perspective about
which I can counter that with the Boston Celtics. Which the Boston Celtics didn't need to have an elite offense in order to win the NBA championship. That's how good they were defensively. So,
all right, fellas, that is the end of topic 2. We have one more good topic. Logan, it is back on you to kick things off. Let's get into it. What's the most valuable position in basketball? Logan, talk to us.
I think hands down the most valuable position in basketball is center. And first, we can start defensively. I don't think any position rivals the impact center can have defensively in basketball. You think about the best defenses in NBA history, the ones that come to mind for me, the 60s Celtics, the 2000s Pistons, the 2000s, the 2010 Spurs. They include the best defensive players in NBA history. Bill Russell, if we're talking Tim Duncan, if we're talking Ben Wallace, if we're talking other all-time defensive players, Hakeem Olajuwon, they're all centers. I just don't think any position on the basketball court, even if that player isn't necessarily a center, right, in terms of nomenclature, right? Draymond Green isn't a center, but you can play him at those spots, and he has a completely different impact at the 5 spot than he does the 4 spot. Then when we look on the other side of the floor, the center can completely change the geometry of the offense. And I'll use Nikola Jokic as an example. The playmaking and the floor spacing that can open up the entire floor for the rest of your team, cutting to the basket, running inverted pick and roll, or just running offense through your center as the ball handler. The screen setting, using him as a post hub. I just think it's the most versatile position offensively as well. And, you know, I'm talking about how this is fully realized in Nikola Jokic. It involves the chess match of the game, moving the center out of the paint, which, again, I think center is the most important defensive position. So I can manipulate my opposition, my matchup, with I can counter that with a really elite offensive center and open up the floor for everybody else. I've got more to say, but I'll turn it over
Absolutely.
to you.
And it actually breaks my heart, Logan, because you know I'm a big man merchant. You know how I love the big guy, right? But in this particular situation, Logan, what if I told you that 4 of the last 10 league MVPs were handed out to the league guard? And not only were 4 of them handed out to the league guard, the 5th one, to your point about guys who actually don't play the league guard, but can play the league guard, which is LeBron James in 2020, had COVID not shut the season down. he would have won the league MVP. He led the league. He led the league in assists. One of the best off. They were top 3 in the league in offense, as good as they were. When I think about the importance of the league guard, Logan, you're a football guy. If I got a quarterback who's consistently turning the football over, you're going to kill us. And there's a difference between you being the primary ball handler and us running the offense through you. To your point about Joker, when I counter that with Joker is the guy who we run the offense through. Jamal Murray is the guy who is the primary ball handler. He's the guy who takes care of the basketball. He's the distributor. He's the guy who's knocking down. He's the guy who's knocking down open shots, knocking down tough shots. He's the guy who's taking care of the basketball, getting everybody else involved. If that's not going on, then we have a huge problem, because I can't just have Joker as the primary ball handler and I'm running the offense through him. I can't do that. What I can do, however, though, is I can have a lead guard like Jamal Murray. I can have a lead guard like Steph Curry. I can have a lead guard like Steph Curry. I can have a lead guard like Russell Westbrook. I can have a lead guard like James Harden, the guy who is my primary ball handler, and he's getting everybody else involved, and he's involving everybody else in a positive way, which would explain why the offense is ran the way it is ran, to explain why those league MVPs were handed out the way that they were.
Back to you, Logan. Let's go.
The other league MVP is Jokic, and the reason they give it out to him, I think, is because he's got the most impact on the game. But to think about the center spot, I just don't want to focus on Jokic. I want to go deeper a little bit into that for a second. But the thing with Jokic is, we're in this positionless league of basketball right now, right? Where if you're just big enough, you can play those spots, and he is their lead guard, essentially. I just think it changes the – damn, I'm sorry, guys. My smoke detector's going off. You're going to have to give me a sec. All right, we good.
You be good. You were talking about Joker. Keep going. You were talking about Joker.
I'm going to put a little more time on the clock. Go ahead.
Thank you, Ron. I appreciate it.
Yeah, we'll get back to it. We're talking about Joker. Uh-oh, we're back in it again.
She's killing me. My sister's cooking. I'm sorry, y'all.
No, I thought you were cooking.
I'm not.
That's why the smoke detector went off. That's why the smoke detector went off.
I'm serving heat right here. I'm serving
Come on, you good?
Like
you
the
good?
oven door. All right, I got y'all. I think the center can just completely change the geometry, especially if they're an elite shooter or an elite playmaker. But when we look outside of just Jokic's archetype, which I think is a very ground-based, more methodical kind of player, when you look to those more athletic bigs who are like lob threats and stuff, I still think you can get elite offensive impact or high-level offensive impact out of a guy who maybe is more defensively inclined. I'll use an Evan Mobley or somebody like that, or a Bam Adebayo, right? These guys aren't elite offensive players, but you're getting amazing value from them. And so when I look across the league, you don't have to be elite at any of these things, but if you do any of these things at a high level, you are changing completely the geometry of the game, right? Kristaps Porzingis, he's not an elite player at everything offensively, but he's really elite at high-level traits that I think are the most valuable at his position. Protecting the rim, spacing the floor, and again, it's just so rare to have those kind of skill sets at the 5 spot. That's why I think center is the most impactful. I got one more to give you, but
it's interesting. It's interesting you bring up Joker, because when I think about the year that they won the NBA championship, that's when Jamal Murray, during that playoff run, he was at his best. Not only that, I'm specifically bringing up Jamal Murray. I'm not bringing up James Harden. I'm not bringing up Steph Curry. I'm not bringing up Russell Westbrook. I want to specifically talk about Jamal Murray and how this team has struggled with Jamal Murray not on the floor, or with him playing less than. And the reason why is because they concentrate and they rely on him and Joker the most. We're talking about dribble handoffs. We're talking about pick and pop. We're talking about pick and dive. These two guys together at one point were considered the best duo in the league. And the reason why they were considered the best duo in the league, with the exception of both James and Anthony Davis, was because of Jamal Murray's ability to make tough shots. Well, now when he's making tough shots and you're playing pick and dive and you're playing pick and pop, you have to pick your poison, because if you go around the screen, he's going to get downhill. And I got Joker popping. And if you go under the screen, he's got a money mid-range game. On top of that, he's extremely efficient at taking care of the basketball, like getting guys like MPJ involved in the game, like getting guys like Aaron Gordon involved in the game. And also getting Joker involved in the game. So when you got a lead guard like that, who's your primary ball handler, it's a recipe for NBA championships. Oh, wait a minute. They did win the NBA championship when he did that. So since he's been back in the lineup, I believe that, if I'm not mistaken, since the All-Star break, I think he's 22-7 since the All-Star break, but he's been in and out of the lineup. If he can stay in the lineup and he can stay healthy, I think we're talking about a different Denver team than we are right now with him as their primary ball handler. I think they're going to cause a lot of trouble.
3 minutes.
They could. The one thing that I would say is you can't have one without the other. I think you're exactly right, Chill, right? These guys both amplify and enhance each other, but I think Jokic makes Jamal's game so much easier for him.
And vice
But-
versa. I can say the same thing
I-
about
I-
Jamal Murray.
100%,
He makes jokes.
100%.
And on top of that, if I got a lead guard who's a turnover machine, then
Mm-hmm.
I'm now that's even more responsibility on Joker. That's even more things to Joker or any other big, Giannis, Lajuan. If I got a lead guard that I got to worry about him taking care of the basketball, that makes my job extremely difficult because now we got to run different things and we got to dumb down things for you.
Mhm.
If I don't have that, then that makes my job way less difficult.
To me, the difference is the versatility of effectiveness you can have with different archetypes at the 5 spot and how differently guys can play and still have that winning impact, right? Because you're talking about, I think that's an important recipe to a championship connection, but you don't necessarily need that at the center spot, right? You can have different kinds of impact and still be great, right? You don't have to be a great ball handler. You can be a great defender. You can be a great shooter. You can be a great, you can be a great playmaker. There's versatility, I think, when it's a little more rigid at the guard spot, and I don't think you can have the kind of defensive impact at the guard spot that you can have at the 5. And I'll turn it over to you, Chill, but there's one more spot that I think puts center over the top, and it's an aspect of the game that we haven't talked about yet, and that's rebounding. And I think it is vitally important in the game of basketball. We've talked offense, we've talked defense. Well, I think center is also the most important position when we're talking about rebounding and anchoring the glass. And I think that can tend to get overlooked sometimes. If I'm using Jokic as an example, right? That's another A-plus trait that he has that just puts him over the top.
So you bring up rebounding. I mean, Russ is a double-digit rebounder in terms of him being a lead guard. So that's number one. Number two, Steph Curry averaged 10 rebounds a game in the NBA Finals. They don't win those NBA Finals if Steph Curry's not averaging 10 rebounds a game.
Who is manufacturing those rebounds for them? It's the
Right.
big guy.
But they didn't have they didn't have somebody that was elite like that. I mean, they had good big guys, but the fact that Steph
22
I'm talking about in 2017 when he almost averaged a triple-double. He averaged 10 rebounds a game in that series, right?
I give
So
Bogut some love.
and that was in I think that was in 16 when Bogut played. I don't think that was in 17. Yes, that was in 16. But even still, a guy who can rebound. I mean, we have lead guards who can rebound. On top of that, you talk about the defensive impact. We live in an era where the point guard has been almost godly. So I have to be able to do something. So Russell Westbrook, I think about John Wall, who was an all-league defender. I think about Rondo, who was an all-league defender. I have to be able to hold my position down on some level because I'm going to get my lunch eaten if I don't, right? So even though the big man at that particular time, he's dying, but he's coming back. But during that time, he was dying, and we're still in an era where the big man is still. I mean, we're still in an era where the lead guard is still the lead guard.
All right, fellas, this has been amazing. This has been wonderful. Y'all, the polls are up right now. Make sure you get to the polls and vote. And fellas, tomorrow on the panel live, we will determine which one of you two will be moving on.
Ron, I told you. Did I not tell you a couple of days ago about that I had to dig in my bag because I knew I was going to have to dig in my bag. I told you that I was going up against somebody that was for real and that I couldn't just show up. I had to get in my bag because I knew what I was going to have to deal with. Because if I didn't, man, I was going to get dragged right up out of here. So I was definitely ready. I was definitely ready today.
I thought you held your own. I thought you did better than that, man. It was an honor.
Absolutely.
Salute to both of y'all for coming up here and doing what y'all do best. We will catch you guys soon. All right.
Later. Y'all know where to find me at.
All right, y'all. Today was a crazy day in the PCL. Obviously, these were the matchups that we had. If you joined late and you missed, go back and check out Big Ice versus Jordan. Go back and check out Mars versus John D. Go back and check out Hayes versus Real Talk. And last but not least, obviously, we just finished with Chilltown in Logan. Once again, y'all, we will be on playback at 8 p.m. Eastern time to watch Tyrese Hallibuckets against the Coca-Cola. So y'all pull up, enjoy this game with us. It is going to be some of the panelists from today. They'll be up there talking about their debates, and it also will be some other characters and good individuals. So y'all pull up and have a good time. In the meantime, like the video, subscribe, and tune into the panel tomorrow to see who will be advancing to the Final Four. All right, y'all. Catch you soon.